question is, can we see the mines?
No.
No. No. No. No.
Well, there was like...
Jesus. No. 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 Ah.
30 seconds.
Where the fuck did you come from?
Shoot him! Stop reloading! Run!
No! No! Fucking hell! Oh!
No.
Hello.
Oh, you dickhead!
That's another death affair.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Poddy Podcast. It's me,
Poddy.
Jonas.
Welcome to the body.
We're trying out something new today. This is another thing that I sorted out over the break. That's right. I didn't sort out the broken schedule stuff. I haven't changed any of the scenes in any way, but I did do this, which is we're now using Twitch's new guest star feature to handle our chat. So could you please tell me if you can hear Jonas?
Would you like to live deliciously? When you were saying, you know, you were sort of trying to find the right words to say what you had or hadn't fixed over the season. I was just like, yeah, Jamie, you haven't fixed our relationship.
No,
It's just
I
not-
haven't.
It's
why
still
you
very
didn't-
broken.
That's why you didn't turn up to my New Year's party. You were just
It's our relationship and nothing else.
yes, we're exploring teledildonics today, Kato. That's what the podcast is about for 2023. We're
Exploring
taking a
our
new angle.
bodies.
Guest star's doing this really fun, exciting new thing where occasionally both of the cameras just flicker. It's really good. So, yeah.
I think it's doing it just for you because I've got this up on my phone and I'm not seeing.
Yeah,
The flick.
because the OBS is fine. It's the guest star one day. That's
All right.
great. That's really good.
Jamie, let's see what Disco Elysium stat you are channeling today. It's Inland Empire. I'm
What
just
did
gonna-
Inland Empire mean? I can't remember.
Hunches and gut feelings, dreams
Oh,
in a
yeah.
waking life. It's the one that lets you talk to your tie.
I've got a gut feeling that this is going to be a podcast.
No. I've got a good feeling that I need to boot up Reaper.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, I
start
need to
recording.
put up Audacity. Yeah.
I just had to update it, so.
Yeah. Another weird thing that Guest Star does is my camera in Guest Star is reversed. Like the camera that's on stream is the opposite way around to the camera I can see looking at Guest Star. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know if I can turn that off or.
Kota's screaming. Reaper, oh man, so we're back in the mine, got our pickaxe swinging from side to side.
Right, I'm recording my audio.
And I this is stop bloody Reaper such a now it's monitoring me. Now I'm recording. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, Jamie, do you know what we didn't do last episode?
What didn't we do?
We didn't do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, that's not my
No.
fault, I don't think.
It's our fault. We are both jointly responsible for the quality of these podcasts.
Yeah, but I'm not responsible for that bit.
You're very much responsible for it while we're recording, and then it's my responsibility to later.
Yeah.
But if we didn't do it in the recording, it's our fault.
I'm just trying. I'm gonna try and make your nameplate larger.
This is why we have a broken relationship, because you're always just diverting the real issues into smaller issues, aren't you?
Yeah. There we go. Now you can slightly see the JTTG at the bottom of the
Right.
thing. That's exciting, isn't it?
Koto, I do not know this meme.
Koto. You are responsible for the numbers. That's your one responsibility.
None of the reviews. I'm not responsible for
No, or
any of
editing,
the.
or getting it up on podcast services, or any of that.
Yep. I don't even know how to take that. It just it'd be funnier if I got paid, or if I had like a responsibility, like 40 hours a
It
week.
would be funny if you got paid,
It'd be funny if
because I'm not getting paid.
it'd be so funny.
Yeah.
Man, I'm getting bank off this podcast, and you're sat there like a bloody fool,
I
paying
am.
me,
I'm sat here like a bloody fool.
paying me to host the podcast.
You and
Right,
I are
Jamie,
paying. Yes. Okay.
you ready? You ready? You ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to do 3, 2, 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, and 1,
1,
2,
2,
3,
3,
4,
4,
5.
5.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. It's like
I
we
can.
never
I'll
went
go now.
away. Oh, you're done. You're done. Okay, cool.
Well, it's my one responsibility.
Yeah. No, and you discharged it admirably. So we're gonna get ready with the podcast in a moment. We're gonna go into the actual podcast. A couple of little notes that we'll go over. I'll probably go over this in the middle as well and at the end, so because I know different people come in at different times. But this probably won't go into the podcast until we've like definitely nailed everything down. But we have a preliminary date for the 24-hour podcast. We are we are thinking July 1st for the date of the 24-hour podcast. Putting a date on it makes it real. It's actually going to happen. The reason for July 1st is it gives us a lot of time to organize taking time off work, because obviously it will take us a while to do. Once we've got like a vague idea of what we actually want to do with the time, we're going to put out sort of a call for people who like other streamers, if they want to like have an hour where they, I don't know, give us a lecture on something, or play a tabletop role-playing game or something. I don't know, whatever they want to do, but people to guest star in it for a bit. And then the other reason it's July the 1st is because July the 3rd is my birthday, so it can be like a little birthday fundraiser. At the moment, we're thinking that the charity, so Twitch has a system that allows you to donate via Twitch. And that feels like the best way for us to do donations, so that we don't have to mess around with an external tool. So unless anything changes, that's what we'll be using. And unless anything changes, the charity, because you can only do one charity at a time through it, the charity will probably be POTS UK, because if you don't know, Laura has POTS as well as her sister. And it's a condition that just absolutely sucks, and there's really not enough research going into it. So there's a lot of like, when you chat with doctors about it, there's just a lot of like, this is how we think it works. This is kind of how we think your life's going to be from here on out. And because it's a condition that mostly affects women, it just really doesn't get the sort of eyes on it that it should. So hopefully, well, they do good work, I think. And so that's exactly it. Yes. And so that's probably what we're going to be fundraising for. All of these things could change. It's a long time till July, but that is the intention right now. The other date to put in your diaries is the 21st of February, which is 2 weeks after the February podcast, will be the 2022 Bunyip Review Award show. So tune in for that. We'll be doing our favorite TV shows, movies, video games, and our best and worst Netflix randomizer movies. I'm gonna knock up some things for basically like screens that we can have up that show all of the like potential winners and then our nominees. And I'm also going to make like some like things I can quickly copy and paste into chat that show who the nominees are. And we'll probably on the Bunyip Review Twitter as well post like the lists of everything that there was and like bigger bits for our actual nominees. Yeah, I'm gonna knock some people up and create a workforce that can help me do all of my various streaming needs. That's my plan. So
because you've completely exhausted your friends list.
yeah, exactly. What we're gonna do is every hour of the 24-hour stream is going to be another one of my illegitimate children begging me for my approval, and at the end we'll decide which one gets my favor.
It's a 24-hour talent show.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. And at the end,
with very little talent, because
my-
these children are not even going to be.
Oh yeah. They've had no fatherly love their entire life.
Sure, they've also had no life, given the date that we're doing the podcast and the date you're coming up with this plan.
Yeah, it'll be my favorite of the 24 fetuses I've made.
There it is.
Ultrasound talent show. Oh, this can't be the banter at the beginning of the podcast.
Oh, it is though. It is.
No.
Ultrasound talent show. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
I heard his new job title is Manager of Human Resources. Oh God.
Oh no.
Well, anyway, so that's the dates you need to put in your diary for the upcoming year. And if you have anything in particular you've heard us review or talk about over the past year that you think warrants a chat on the review show, we have already picked our nominees. So unless it's one of the ones we picked, it can't win. But you could still lobby for things that you like, and it can get an honourable mention. And yeah, we'll post all of the things relatively soon, I think, so that you can see what was even in the running.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say though that you're going to talk about Man versus Bee as your nomination, aren't you?
I think Man versus Bee might win Best TV Show.
Yeah,
I think Severance was good, but Man versus Bee.
What was Severance again? I don't.
It was a show that had annoyingly few bees.
Right, but there was. It was one of the 11 shows that didn't have enough bees, right? And then there was a 12th show
and then there was a 12th
that had
show
bees, and that was Man versus.
Well, it had
Bee.
a bee, but that was enough.
That was the right amount of bees.
Actually, next month, unless I watch something else that's more worthy talking about, I will be reviewing a show with bees in it. I'll mention it. It's in my other section, so you can already see what it is. But
yeah, I think I knew what show you were going to talk about. But yeah. All right.
All right.
Cool. So that was February the 21st award show, and that's July the 1st weekend for the 24-hour podcast.
Yes, exactly. It will start at some point on July the 1st, and then end at some point on July the 2nd.
I like the idea. It starts on July the 1st, finishes July the 1st, 2024.
Yeah, that's next time.
Year-long
podcast.
One podcast all year, 1 year, one podcast.
No.
Go onto your podcasting app.
It's 02. It's the 21st of February, not the 21st of January. No, you're still wrong, Koto. Thank you though. Thank you for trying.
This is an editing note to Jonas. Jamie was talking to the chat, and that will not make good material for the audio listeners, and you should cut that all out. Cut that out. Cut his voice out. Piece of shit. I love you, Jonas.
Should we do a podcast?
Do you want to go to bed?
Yeah, kind of.
Then yes, we definitely are doing a podcast.
Okay, all right. How do I start these podcasts again?
You normally clap. And then you go, hello!
Oh, yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the January episode of the Bunyip Review. I am your co-host, James the Bunyip Man Willis, and I am here with my co-host, Jonas Throat Trouble Galway, because he said to me this morning he still has an awful sore throat from, is it tonsillitis you've got?
It's just some infection in the back of my throat.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. It's not going to
But anyways,
impede your
once you
reviewing
finish,
prowess, though, is it?
I was just say, once you finish the introduction, I'll go into the improv.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. You really threw me for a loop there. You just like you stuck a metal pole in the wheel of my podcasting.
Oh, you asked me a very genuine question, and I wanted to answer it genuine. Anyways, yes, I'm Throat Trouble Jonas Galway. How are you doing? It's a pleasure to be here on this format that requires me to use literally one fucking part of my body for 2 hours to 3 hours straight, uninterrupted. This is gonna go swimmingly.
Jonas's New Year's resolution was to smoke more. It smoke a lot more.
There's actually, I've actually eliminated the floor in my house now. It is just cigarette butts, and as I smoke, I am actually starting to reach closer to the ceiling. As I ever enclose myself in cigarettes.
Your entire wall is just cigarettes, and every morning Mary lights the end of the whole, like one side of the wall, and you just stand on the other side of the wall going just sucking into the wall
Yeah.
and just collecting so much smoke into you.
Yep. I don't even exhale at the end.
No, you've never exhaled in your entire life.
Since I started smoking all of these cigarettes. Sorry, since I started smoking all of these cigarettes, I've not actually breathed out at all.
And when you do, it will
Which
it will kill everyone in the local area.
and it adds another layer of difficulty to the current action which we are performing, I must say.
All right, let's get on with this. Hopefully you're able to make it through the whole thing, but if you keel over and die, we can send Mary in to finish the podcast for us.
Yeah, we absolutely can. She's got all the notes here. She knows how I feel about the things that I watched. It's much the same.
It's pretty easy, this whole podcasting gig. Anyone could do it.
Anyone could. I mean, that's
yeah.
let's not give people ideas now, okay?
So first
they
up,
need us.
You played Pentiment in the last month, and in fact, you overtook me because I wasn't able to get back to it. But you've managed to finish it, haven't you?
I finished Pentiment. I have a very strong statement to say about Pentiment. Pentiment should be your game of the year.
Okay.
That's how good I think Pentiment is. I think if it had come out a little bit earlier last year and you had completed it,
yeah,
I think you would be looking at this saying that's probably one of the best games you played.
It definitely was something I considered, and in fact, the game that I did pick, I picked it. You know, I so
we don't want to talk too much about that. Yeah.
Not to give too much away, but I was a bit stuck on what I was going to pick, and I think that Pentiment. I really think that Pentiment for me had the makings of a really great game. I just wanted to finish it, and you know, December's a very busy time. You know, there's Christmas and all that jazz, and we had to, you know, watch and play things for this very podcast that we're recording right now. It will be a shame that it doesn't get its fair due in the awards, but also I don't think it matters that much.
Sure, yeah. No, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It's a game that I'm gonna go around recommending this to people for quite a long time now. A la Obra Dinn and Disco Elysium. Like it's not the same as those games. Like I'm not saying it's an equivalent to Disco Elysium and Obra Dinn, but I feel like it's certainly like a peer of those games. Like it gets to kind of stand at a very similar level of its own genre and its own style. And the thing it's doing, it does really well for a like impressive length of time that kind of delivers like a full experience. It is a damn good game.
Yeah, I think so. I've only played the first act, but I really got a sense there was something special going on with it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing it. I think, I don't know when I'll be able to do that, but I want to make an effort to find time to finish it.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I hope you enjoy it when you do eventually get around to it. For anyone curious about it, if you're using the Xbox Game Pass, it's on the Xbox Game Pass. And yeah, this is the game that you were reviewing last year, towards the end of last year, which is it's like a 16th century painting that you play. All the characters are paintings, and it's all on a 2D landscape where you're moving into the background and it's kind of side scrolling through this German village.
yeah, go back to
Um,
last episode for us talking about it, because I think I got pretty in depth with it, and I think I think it is something very unique that I think's worth, you know, I think it's worth playing it, just playing it. But if you need more selling, go back and listen to us talk about it last month. The other thing we put on here is Murderville Christmas Special, because this is a weird one because I think it is a rewind, but it also felt more like a movie, like the movie to the TV series Murderville.
I
Um,
I put it in rewind because I don't think I can justify calling this a movie because it's like it is just the TV show, but with more actors and with
it
it's
was a bit
still
longer as
one.
well.
It was like 45 minutes, which
Yeah,
is more like a
yeah.
you've got episodes of TV that are longer than 45 minutes.
I agree. It is very much just more Murderville, but it was a special
It
as
was a
it were.
special,
Yeah,
but yeah, I would call it a Christmas episode rather than
yeah.
the Murderville Christmas movie, if that makes sense.
Um,
Um,
what did you think?
yeah, I quite enjoyed it. It reminded me, like, it just reminded me how much I think I really did enjoy Murderville. As
Yeah,
much as I forget about it, I look back at it fondly when I do remember it.
I think I think this was my favorite episode of the whole lot, and I think what this episode did was it learnt the lessons from the previous series, and it just did the best bits that it could. They picked actors who seemed like they wanted to have a good time. They didn't get too creepy with it. There was one bit in particular that was like, is this okay? Forcing a nude man on Jason Bateman. But other than that, it was fairly good. They brought back one of the guys, the like American football player from the first series, just randomly for a gag. He was the best one in the first series, and he was great in this one as well. Um, and I think the first series really wanted to like, bed in this idea and find their feet on this idea. And this episode was just like, how can we just fuck with this format? The idea that they I will not spoil very much, but I will spoil this one particular thing, which is there's three celebrities in this one as the sort of gag, like the gags on them instead of one, but they don't bring them in all at the beginning. They bring them in one by one. So when the second comes in and then the third comes in, they get the other celebrities who are already there to explain to them what's happened. And because
Yeah, it was
they
good.
have experienced it for the first time with no script or whatever, just experiencing it, watching them try to describe the plot of what you've already seen is just great. It's just a
Yeah.
really good gag.
And my favorite one as well is again just hanging on to that one gimmick. They bring in one of those actors really late into the episode and then still treat him as a fully informed detective. That makes
Yeah.
sense. And
Yeah.
that's the joke. The joke is like he's not actually been here for the whole episode. Now we're gonna treat him like he's been here for the whole episode.
It's such a good punchline bringing him in right at the end, and the way that they handle that and the way that he handles that as well, it's
Yeah.
so good.
I think my favorite as well was just the celebrities kind of like acknowledging each other. It was really
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah.
Was it Jason Bateman like acknowledging
It's Jason Bateman and what's her name? She was the judge in The
in
Good
Good
Place.
Place?
Maya
I've forgotten her
Rudolph.
name.
Maya Rudolph,
Right.
and then another celebrity, which is intentionally kept a mystery by all the trailers. So I won't say who the last celebrity is.
Sure.
But yeah, it's Jason Bateman and Maya Rudolph are the first two.
But yeah, just the way that they're like bouncing off each other, it is just really funny. And yeah, it was a good little watch, especially because it's nice to have short, sweet, punchy, good media, like media
Mm.
that isn't gonna like eat your whole evening, but just stuff you can just watch in a lunch break, and it's like it's a one-off that's really good.
And it sort of came out of nowhere. Like it was they just went, oh, we're doing a Christmas special. Bam, here's the Christmas special, and gone like the wind. I was like, oh, that was a really good evening I spent watching that show. Okay,
Yep.
great. I don't expect any more. I didn't expect any more. It was a fun situation that has happened and is gone. And yeah, like you're right. We want more good short, like just popcorn TV that's not like that you don't have to commit like hours and hours to and all that jazz. I just remembered another show I watched this month that I've just put in the other section.
Okay,
I
so we're
will
not going
talk
to talk
about.
about it now.
No, because it's not a rewind. But I just
Cool.
had a moment where I was like, "What have I watched over the Christmas?" I was like, "Oh shit, I watched a really good show that I have no idea how I've forgotten." But I'll talk about it in a bit.
Fair
Um,
enough.
so
Um,
do you have? Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say that I started watching Star Trek Lower Bridge. I don't have we
Lower
reviewed
Decks.
this Lower Decks.
So I
That's
reviewed Lower Decks a while
You
back.
reviewed it a while back. So it's technically a rewind. I had started watching it because I needed just something to watch while I'm sick and have low
Mm.
attention. I'm gonna keep watching it. I'm enjoying it. I think it's very funny how it really is a love letter to Star Trek. Like the writers are so aware of the strengths and weaknesses of all of Star Trek, and they're using this show to kind of like highlight a lot of those strengths and weaknesses, and kind of giving the show its own comeuppance, but with like a really funny, entertaining kind of twist.
It is the jokes that fans of Star Trek make to each
Yeah,
other as a show. And I think that's great. It's like Orville is like that, but they want to make their version, like a good version of Star Trek, like bring it into the modern age. Lower Decks is just no, we're not trying to make like the new Star Trek that fixes the problems. This is just the jokes that Trekkies tell each other
yeah,
as a comedy.
it's good, and I've been enjoying it. But that's the start and finish of my thoughts on that show.
Okie dokie. All right, well, let's move on to talking about our main TV shows for this month. And Jonas, you're up first. Jonas, what are you talking about TV wise?
I am going to be talking about. I mentioned this last month in my other section, but I'm now going to talk about it at length. I'm talking about an anime called Chainsaw Man. Content warnings for Chainsaw Man. It's if it's not obvious from the fact that a man is a chainsaw, it's got violence. It's got some blood and some death and gore and all that stuff. It's sort of highly animated. Um, and I think as the show goes on, it will definitely have other darker themes. But we've just got season one for now. So if you're sensitive to those things, you shouldn't watch this. Keep in mind, though, it is anime. So it's not nearly as bad as it could be if it was all live action. View at your own discretion. Chainsaw Man is it's an adaptation of a manga, as most animes are. The manga is written by Tatsuki Fujimoto, and it's published by Shonen Jump, who Shonen Jump are the big publishers that also do like Naruto, Bleach, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece. All the big boy battling animes are published by them. Chainsaw Man is a story about a 16-year-old boy called Denji. Denji starts off in the story as homeless, in debt, and he's locked into this vicious cycle of doing jobs for a Yakuza boss, only for all the money that he would get from the job being taken away from him to repay the debt. The only joy Denji has in his life is this mysterious little dog that he's befriended called Pochita. Pochita is a dog with a chainsaw sticking out of its face. Perfectly normal. Denji and Pochita they form this like friendly relationship, but they slay devils together until one day Denji is ambushed by a devil seeking revenge, and Pochita grants him the ability to become Chainsaw Man as he becomes strong enough to defend himself from his devil attackers. From here on out, the sort of familiar shonen format of kid with powers, I need to put an edit note there. Sorry, everyone.
We forgive you.
Oh, thanks, Jamie.
You're
Edit.
doing
There
your
we
best.
go. From here on out, the familiar shonen format of kid with powers gets strong and makes friends unfolds a little bit predictably, but Chainsaw Man is less interested in sort of saving the world and defeating evil so much as it's sort of Denji is just blown away by the simple concepts of being allowed to live in a house and sleep on a bed, eat a nice sandwich every day, and maybe, if he's really lucky, he'll get to touch a boob. Chainsaw Man, at its core, is the story of a 16-year-old having absolutely nothing to the point that he expects to die every single day, to suddenly having prospects he never dreamed of. Denji doesn't have grand ambitions because he's never had what most of us would consider daily comforts. The fact that he runs around killing devils with chainsaws sticking out of his head is just kind of a neat bonus and a sort of a vehicle to drive the story onwards. I think many of the strengths of Chainsaw Man can be found in its original manga. I think it's a phenomenal story, and it's easily one of my favorite mangas of all time. When a great manga is adapted to an anime, it has the potential to elevate that story using, voice acting, music, movement, timing, color, direction, all these things. There are many animes that sometimes don't adapt their manga and add that much more. Way of the Husband on Netflix is basically a slideshow with voice acting, and I don't like it for that reason. Chainsaw Man manages to leverage its own format and elevates this story in so many ways. From its opening credits that features dozens of movie references to the show adding these original, like never before seen in the manga, long sequences of characters just going about their day, like dreamily animated to like nearly lo-fi music. The amount of effort going in to Chainsaw Man is just absolutely overflowing with like attention to detail and passion from the creators. They put so much effort into just things like little weird facial expressions or just shots of characters walking down corridors rather than using kind of traditional limited animation techniques. It makes the show feel kind of more cinematic, more like a really directed kind of piece of work. Just more kind of more like a film, I guess, is how I would put it. Studio Mappa, the creators of this show, really appreciate how good a piece of work Chainsaw Man is, and they really want this show to be an exemplary piece of work when it's finished. In the story, when Denji isn't slashing devils in the face or dreaming of copping a feel, he has a nice cast of quirky characters, all of whom are brought to life so beautifully. Chainsaw Man has a near art house feel to how it develops its world and story around kind of Denji's complete obliviousness and willingness to do anything if it means he just has a nice bed to sleep in. Season 1 of Chainsaw Man's just finished, so it's going to be a while until the story continues into season 2, but I have complete confidence that every season will be a huge success and that the finished show will be an absolute fan favorite for anime fans all over the world. If you're already an anime fan, I think you already know precisely what this show is and precisely why it's worth watching. If you're not an anime fan, I don't know that this is a good first show for you to watch. I think it will be more about what genres you generally enjoy outside of the anime. If you're put off by anime just as a medium, then I don't think this show is going to do a lot to change your mind. But if you're open-minded and you like the idea of some dark comedy, bloody conflicts, and supernatural mysteries, I think this might be perfect for you. Jamie, I know it's another anime. Where's your brain? Where are your thoughts going with this?
I was laughing because you were talking about how it looked, and so I googled it to see what it looked like, and you started talking about how it was like almost art house and how it builds its world and things like that. As I was looking at a picture of a man with a chainsaw for a head and chainsaws on his arms, and I was like,
It's
well,
yeah, sure. That like, and that's definitely like the action component, right? but there's lots of scenes of people in like really nice suits and long flowing coats,
Mm,
like just walking from one end of an area to another, and they're having a conversation while they walk. But like a lot of anime would just like focus on the faces, and the heads would
yeah.
just bob, and the mouths would just flap. Chainsaw Man, it really loves to give you that kind of perspective shot of like low down, watching the feet like step over the camera and pass, and
So
it's very airy like that.
so you sort of broke down that you felt that there was sort of part of it which was the narrative, the plot that comes from the original manga, and separated that about a bit from the filmmaking, right? That you were talking about how the actual animation and filmmaking of it elevates it beyond what's just coming from the manga.
Sure.
So if we start with the manga first, you said that you know that it's a really great story. Um, what really does set it aside, because you were saying that it sort of follows that common sort of anime plot, but that this is it that this character is quite unique, the sort of like, you know, he has sort of interesting unique goals in life, or is there something extra on top of this that really makes it stand out among the rest?
A lot of it is about like the fact that Denji's a very blank slate. So he's a that it's that element of he starts the story quite mature, like 16 years old, but he's never really experienced the world. He's never like no one's ever fed him, no one's cared for him, no one's really like he's not experienced like a lot of life's basic kind of comforts. And then the story thrusts him into this world where he's basically been given a job, kill devils. He's being fed. He's got co-workers, which he's slowly kind of developing a friendship with. And as the show goes on, it gets really into this idea of like, what is it like what is it like to want something and then get it, and then where do you go from there? Like, what's the next thing that you want?
Right.
What happens when you achieve that thing? What happens when you achieve that thing? And Denji starts to experience kind of how hollow some of like these ambitions are, because he just gets the thing that he wants, and then life keeps going, and he doesn't know how to deal with that. And he has to process, he loses friends quite early on, and he has to kind of he doesn't know how to process that, because he's kind of assumed that he was always disposable.
So,
But now
yeah, it's interesting personal stories
it,
that's the
it's
kicker for this.
it definitely, yeah, it's as much as it's a man killing things with chainsaws in his arm and head, the show is at its strongest when he's kind of having to like deliberate with the small little complexities of like love and loss, and want and
Yeah.
desire, and get, reward and failure and all that sort of stuff.
It's a bit like Odd Taxi in that way, that it's about sort of kind of human stories as well as the sort of like strange anime-ness of it. Like there's like, you know, humanity and like personal, like, you know, real stories in there.
Yeah, absolutely. The writer of this is well known for doing a different story called Fire Punch, which is about a man who's got the power to regenerate, but he's on fire, and he never stops being on fire for the rest of his life.
Right.
So if he punches someone, they go up in the same flames, but they burn to death, whereas he stays alive. And it's like on the cover, that's like a really like, wow, what a cool action hero concept. But the story's about the fact that this man's been brutally in pain since he was like 12 years old, and he never matured, and he's still a child, and people keep manipulating him, and like he never really he never really gets a chance to develop beyond this really
Yeah.
base stage of like being a man on fire.
Yeah.
um
You know, I think that's, you know,
it's just
that's
heartbreaking.
that's an interesting thing that these stories in cinema can do, is use sort of really heightened things to tell, to have a sort of sideways look at real things, right? Like, you
Yeah.
know, the way that we interact with the world and the way that we sort of grow and mature as people, right? And I think that, you know, as much as I joke about anime, that is a vehicle for it, right? Is tackling big difficult stories in a more manageable way, which is through these sort of action stories, or these sort of abstract ideas. I think that's quite interesting. Um,
Yeah.
so the other side of it as well is you're talking about how the anime really elevates it, and takes it above. Um, do you think that this is the definitive way to experience this story? Would you rather watch it than read it now that they've done this sort of excellent version of it?
I think it's one of those things where it's in the end, right? If a book gets a really good movie adaptation, I think it depends on who you're talking to. Like I I'm not really a book reader, and I mean, out of like, we are both more likely to watch a film than we are to read a book of the same story. So obviously, we're always going to drift towards that slightly more kind of, watchable, viewable, listenable experience. But there are a lot of people out there who will have a better relationship with the book, no matter how good the film is. And I think that's kind of the same for Chainsaw Man. I think anime is one of those funny things as well, where if you read manga, you probably watch anime, and if you watch anime, you probably read manga, but you don't necessarily say the same for film and
Mm.
books. An avid book reader is not necessarily an avid cinema goer, and vice versa. We are more cinema goers, but Lord knows I don't read novels. I don't read books that often, but I read a fuckload of manga. It's
Yeah.
it's weird how the formats are similar but not the same, and one clicks for me better than the other. In this case, with Chainsaw Man, um, I would tell someone to watch the anime first because one, the music is just phenomenal. Like the direction, the style, the voice acting, all of it like is just completely delivering on every level. I think it's I do think it's an incredible product of its time. Um, and I think that obviously I can convince someone to watch an anime before I could convince them to read a manga, if that makes sense. Like if they had never been exposed to either.
Yeah. Oh,
I
fair
think
enough.
it's yeah.
Okay. It sounds interesting. I'm not sure. I'll admit, I'm not sure I'll give it a go unless it becomes your nominee for the 2023 awards. But you have somewhat sold it to me, and as better, more engaging than other animes that I might have been had people try and encourage me to watch.
I'm gonna come
Um,
around tomorrow, and we'll just start on episode one.
uh,
I'll see you then.
will you just be in my house watching it?
Yeah, yeah. When you start work, go down.
Okay. Well, yeah, it'd be nice to see you. Oh, I'm fine with that. Um, all right, you are a 16-year-old lad, 16-year-old Jonas, and you owe money to the local East London mob because we're in England, not in Japan. But you've made friends with a little dog that has reviews of movies coming out of its head. And one day you're attacked by a demon, and the only way to beat it is with a review of a movie. And the little dog gives you the power to make reviews, and you become one sentence review man. And the first review you have to give is a review of Chainsaw Man. What is the review?
Um, a perfect blend of everything I already love.
Okay, that's good, concise. I like it. All right, we're going to move on to my TV show of the month this month, and I am talking about a Netflix phenomenon. Can I say? I don't know. I don't know if I can say that. The people who I've so I didn't mean to look so angry at you.
Laura,
um,
Laura.
I will start that again. So I am reviewing a Netflix show called 1899. The people who I've heard talk about this show like love this show, and everyone else, I haven't heard anyone else talk about it. Like it's not a show that's on everyone's lips, and some people love it and some people hate it. You either love it or you haven't heard of it, I think. So it's a brand new mystery show by the creators of Dark, which I haven't seen but is supposedly incredible. Um, and it is set on a migrant ship in the year 1899 that's traveling from Europe to America. On board, there is a woman who's reading a mysterious letter about a sister ship in the shipping company's fleet disappearing mysteriously in the ocean. And we're introduced to a varied, multicultural cast of characters, all of different status and power in various areas of the boat. Then a message is received by the crew, a message that could only be sent by the missing ship. And so they divert to investigate what's going on. I really can't say anything more about the plot from that point on, as this is a show that basically entirely hinges around discovery and mystery. Every episode delivers some new revelation, a quintessential example of the sometimes maligned mystery box genre, but I think it does a pretty decent job of it. 1899's twists and turns are often like sledgehammer blows, suddenly and dramatically changing everything you know about the show. The plot is thrilling, snaking from idea to idea, reveal to reveal, but in its grand scope, sometimes loses some of the accessibility that I feel great mystery shows exhibit. Maybe it's a victim of an unfair comparison, but this was the show I watched right after finishing Severance, a show that had big twists but also intricate mysteries. 1899's turns are often so huge that it takes away the feeling that you could predict what's next, a key component of keeping people hooked on this kind of genre. And that's not to say it doesn't achieve this sometimes. I had my theories, and some were correct and some weren't. But often, Laura, who had already seen it, would ask what I would think was coming next, and I would say, well, it really could be anything. Its reveals were good and often thrilling, but not always as satisfying in the way that a brilliant puzzle show can be. Outside of the mystery, though, there are personal stories of the characters. In the balance of, sorry, I had to break that. I
Yeah.
there was a,
Yeah. Yeah. You lost it.
I wrote verses, but I read it as V's in my head, and that made me start thinking about cyberpunk, and then I entirely derailed. So,
It's fine. Can you
uh,
highlight on the dock where you were?
yeah,
Sorry.
I'm here.
Right. I'll make an edit note here for myself.
Outside of the mystery, though, are the personal stories of the characters. In the balance of drama versus mystery, this is very heavily on the mystery side, but these character plots are still fairly well done. A mixture of period cliches and varied traumatic backstories combined for murder mystery esque character progression that adds a mix of red herrings and intrigue into the mainline mystery plot. The real star of the show, though, is the visuals. 1899's visual style is impactful, with moody, contrasting lighting, brilliant period costuming, spectacularly intense seas, and a cheeky smattering of steampunk. The look of 1899 will stay with you. The surface level of old steamships battered in tempestuous seas, men shoveling coal in a room that you can almost feel the heat coming off the screen, beautiful dining rooms and stark lower decks. All of this would be enough for a normal period drama. But the next layer deep, the way that they craft the places the show goes on, will stick in your head long after it's gone. 1899 has an enjoyable mystery and a brilliant style. It's a good example of its genre, but still had some way to go to become the best, I think. That being said, a show like this can be made retroactively better by achieving their story aims as they close out the show, which makes it such a shame that recently it was announced that it has been cancelled. Season 1 ends on a cliffhanger that promised a lot and left many, many threads dangling, and it felt like an intro into a wider idea that it's an incredible shame that it may never conclude. I won't go further than that. Jonas, have you heard of this show or watched any of it?
So I heard of it very briefly as like, hello Jonas, this is a show you can watch, and I went, yeah, whatever. And then I heard of it as, hello Jonas, this is a show that you cannot watch season 2 of because we're not going to do season 2. And I sort of saw a little bit of the discourse about how Netflix is almost too eager to cut things from progressing any further if they don't seem to display like an absolutely overwhelming blockbuster amount of success in its, in its first like month or 2 weeks or whatever of existing on its own platform. So it's sort of it's become a little bit of a cautionary tale about the brutality of Netflix and their sort of willingness to just cut media and ideas because they're just not profiting as much as, they're just not hitting the big number bar, basically, even when they're interesting concepts and even when, you're watching it and reviewing it so positively.
Hmm.
But it got cancelled. So obviously it being a good show just clearly isn't good enough for whatever entity is making these decisions.
It's interesting because on the one hand, it's I while watching it, again, I came just off the back of Severance, which was an incredible show, and so I was like, this is doing similar things to Severance, but not doing them as well, right? And that doesn't mean it's bad because Severance was top of the tippity top, right? So a bit below that is still really, really good, right? But I was like, this show is good. I'd happily watch more of this. This is a show I can just sort of sit back and enjoy, and it will just keep throwing sledgehammer twists at me, and so I just get something thrilling at the end of every episode. But I was like, I could take it or leave it. If it goes away, I'm not going to be like, devastated. I'd like to see the end of this, and I think it would get better with more, but I wouldn't be devastated. On the other hand, this is a show by seasoned creators. Like Dark is beloved by a lot of people. It's a show that absolutely clearly thought it was getting a second season. The end of the first season clearly feels like this is the end of the prologue. Here's where the show goes now, right? It had the same feeling to its ending that Severance did, right? And it was a show that definitely had an aim, right? It left so many things dangling or set up so many things that it felt it was going to knock over 2 to 3 to 4 seasons later, or however long they wanted to do it, right? And I think that those shows, they it it is a lot of money to put into a show to say, oh, don't worry, it will be at its best after 4 seasons. But I do think this season was good enough to justify 2 or 3 more seasons making it better.
Yeah.
And I do wonder what the numbers were like on it and what kind of numbers you need to justify to say this is a show that's going to build. Or does it just have to be great out of the gate? Does it have to be 100% on day one? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's sad to you would kind of hope, right, that with a show like that, it might be beneficial to actually just not cancel it, but also not renew it for a
Hmm.
period of time. Let it breathe.
Yeah.
Let there be a little bit of discussion around what the show is,
We'll
and
see how
then
the next year goes of it picking up viewers, and then when they clamour for a next season, we'll come back. What I really do wonder is if Netflix will sell the premise off to someone else, and they'll finish it.
I mean, I've noticed there's this trend at the moment of Amazon Prime doing quite big budget, big visual, big kind of like
Mm.
spectacular, like moody, dark, mystery, sort of thriller kind of shows, like
Yeah.
that kind of seems to be the trend that a lot of big budget TV's going at the moment, which,
Mm.
it's fine. But no, yeah, I'm curious about it. I guess like it's a show that I might have got around to watching eventually. Um and I still might, I guess. There's a
I,
lot of
I would recommend it. I think that even though it doesn't end, what's good about it is good. And I think it is. It really depends on your tolerance for not finding out the answers, right? Because you will get
yeah.
to the end of this series and you will have no answers, right? It sets up questions, it answers them, but in answering those questions gives you new questions and then ends. And I I I think we cannot guarantee that it will ever get an ending now. So we should just imagine it. So you either need to go, I can handle that. I just want to watch a cool mystery show and you know enjoy my time with it, or you go, it will like trouble me forever that I don't know what the meaning of this is, and I have
Yeah,
to stop.
I take your meaning. I take your meaning. Did you when you how to put it? The show seems quite dark. So
Hmm.
it's not comedic or light. I'm guessing it's quite heavy and quite moody and quite
It's
like
very
atmospheric and
moody. Yeah.
oppressive.
Yeah, it's very moody. It's there's very little humor in it. And it's absolutely a sort of like there's a kind of oppressive might be the wrong word. That's too heavy a word, but there's kind of a sort of heavy tone to the whole thing. Um uh, there's as the scope of the show widens and as sort of twists and turns start to take you away from your sort of base understanding of what the show is, it picks up a pace that um sort of just keeps pulling you along with it, and there's this constant sort of this constant sort of mood of a sort of you know time running out or a weight to it or a heaviness sort of pressing down kind of thing, which they which on the one hand they do excellently, and it really feels the way it's supposed to feel, but on the other hand there's enough going on and there's enough of a pace to it that it never feels like you're sort of bothered by that. It doesn't. I'm not sure I would want to watch every episode back to back to back to back in a row,
I
but
gotcha. Yeah.
it doesn't. You don't come out of it feeling like God, that was a slog, which I think for some of those heavier things you can. Um, yeah, that's what I would say about it. It's definitely not a light-hearted show.
Good to know. Good to know. Okay. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it. I was sort of just eyeing over the cast and sort of not really realizing that I don't recognize anyone at a glance.
No,
But that's a good thing. I think that means there's a lot of new talent here.
there is
New to me.
there's one actor you will recognize in it because he's in Andor, but I'm not going to say who. You'll see it when you watch it. But other than that, it's all people I don't recognize, and it's a like fully multicultural cast. Like everyone speaks their own languages. So there's a lot of like European languages, and there's a bit of Korean in there and things. And it's something you should absolutely watch with subtitles rather than dub, because you you there's a lot
I
of the the languages and the accents and things matter, and when you watch it with a dub you lose all of that and you yeah.
Yeah, and I am always a fan of watching things where people are kind of like speaking their mother tongue, speaking in their
Yeah.
native tongue, because I think there's a lot of nuance in the way that they speak and the performance is more authentic and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Cool. I will get around to watching that. Jamie,
Yes.
you are you are using the information you've given me from your review, um a individual of a culture with potentially status and power.
Oh, that's good.
Ooh.
That's nice. That's nice for
And
me.
you are going to go on a nice boat trip um
Oh, lovely.
from our glorious small nation of Europe
Okay,
to
lovely.
the prosperous coasts of America.
Okay, yeah.
And then as you're going along the boat, lots of tension is building up as lots of people are speaking languages that you don't understand around you, and then you read a mysterious letter. Now, we all know that here out at sea, the one sentence review for 1899 went missing. But in this letter that you've received, there's a hint that you might be able to go find it. You frantically tell the captain to change directions. We must go to the location of the one sentence review of 1899. And look, we know the show's going to get cancelled. So normally I'd say that you're not going to see the one sentence review until season 4, but we're actually going to bring the reveal
We're
straight
just
into
gonna do
season
it.
1 now. We're going to give everyone the answer that they were going to wait 4 seasons for. Jamie, when you arrive at the destination, What is the one sentence review of 1899?
A thrilling mystery box killed too soon.
That sounded like thrimming.
A thrimming mystery box. Trim this mystery box.
Oh, I feel absolutely trimmed.
Oh, lovely. So we're going to move on, but before we do, there's another couple of shows that I've been watching this month. The first one is called Kaleidoscope, and it might be the thing I review next month if nothing else comes up, but it's worth talking about because, well, Jonas, have you heard about this for a start?
This is the show that you can watch any episode in any order.
Not you can watch, it will make you watch. So the first episode and the last episode are always in those places, but otherwise everyone's Netflix account randomizes the middle episodes.
See, Mary and I compared our Netflix logins and we had the same episodes in the same order, so we didn't believe that.
So so this is the thing, right? That's the promise of the show, that it randomizes the middle bits.
Because I've also heard a little bit of dispute around that.
So someone I was talking to at work was disputing this as well. Now, we only have one Netflix account here at our place, so I couldn't tell you if it was different. But apparently, the premise is that all of the things are different in the middle. We might talk about this next month in more detail, but I think that it's an interesting concept. I think it was well worth them doing this as an idea. I think in some ways it succeeds. I think in some ways it shows the limitations of this concept. Have you actually seen it, Jonas?
No, I have not.
Well, I would recommend watching it, and then we can talk about it next month, because I think there's some I think it will be an interesting discussion just on the merits of this idea as a concept. But yeah, we can talk about that next month. The other thing I put down is, and this is kind of weird for us because we don't normally talk about reality TV on this show. What was that?
It was your voice coming out my phone going, "Oh, my heart!" Because I haven't got my notifications turned off. For anyone that doesn't know this, from a previous episode of the podcast, Jamie said the sentence, "Ah, my blood sugar," and "Ah, my heart," in funny voices. And I took the audio and added them to my phone as alarms. So now when I have a high blood sugar, Jamie screams, "Ah, my heart." And when I'm having a low blood sugar, like I had last night at 2 o'clock in the morning, Jamie screams out, "Ah, my blood sugar." Um, and yeah, like, you're doing a great job, buddy.
Oh, thank
You're,
you,
you're doing a
thank
great
you.
job.
And these sound effects will go up on sale for $9.99 each if you want them for your own blood sugar monitor.
Yeah, subscribers to our totally existing Patreon will get these sound clips.
A steep discount. All right, shall I
Yeah,
continue from where I was? Are we going to cut that bit?
maybe not.
Well, shall I? Okay, I'll talk like we are.
Well, you were talking about traitors.
Okay. So the other thing I was going to mention is something that we don't normally talk about on this stream, but it's reality TV. There was a TV show the BBC did recently. I think it's reusing of an existing idea from another country, but it's a show called The Traitors, and I don't really like reality TV. I don't like things like Strictly Come Dancing or Big Brother or anything like that. But the thing that sold me on this show is the premise is it's basically werewolf, right?
Right, I have heard of this. Yeah,
There's a bunch of people, they can win up to £120,000, and there's I think 22 of them in a big castle in Scotland, but 3 of them are traitors, and every day the traitors murder someone and the group get to banish someone. That's the werewolf bit of it, right? You know how the
yeah.
game Werewolf works. Everyone gets to vote on someone they think is a baddie, and then they get voted off. At the end, on the very last episode of the show, everyone who is left gets to vote out as many people as they want. So they vote people out, and then they all say, "Do we think we've got all the traitors?" If they say no, they vote again. Do we think we've got all the traitors? And then keep going, right? Until they think we've got everyone out. And at that point, if any traitors are still left in the group, they take all of the money and no one else gets anything. This show is interesting for two reasons. One, it's a cool idea. It's a fun, interesting idea, and I think that they are on the right side of like this sort of like cheesy sort of reality TV show stuff, right? Like the challenges they do to earn money are pretty fun. The setup's pretty fun. It's pretty like Claudia Winkleman hosts it, and she's really good. But the other side, the human fucking nature aspect of it, of these people who become friends and have to stab each other in the back, and there's like real money, so much real money involved that like it's just so interesting. I think if you can stomach it, if you think it's even vaguely your kind of thing, I would recommend watching it. Have you heard anything about this show, Janice?
So apparently my parents had recommended it to me. No, but I do remember the concept. I do remember someone basically saying to me, "There's a werewolf TV show, like
Yeah.
or Mafia or whatever party game you want to use to describe this." And yeah, I think I just dismissed it because it was on. Yeah, it's on BBC iPlayer, which is just a format that I can't really use. So I just sort of ignored it.
I would recommend it. I think that it is still reality TV. It's still like episodes are longer than they need to be and all that jazz. But the core thing of watching how people handle like being like sneaky and traitors when so much money is on the line. Like towards the end, there are people who have been traitors for like 10, 12 days, right? They've spent 12 days all day lying to people, just the entire day for 12 solid days. And you think like that must be really tough. Like trying to avoid ever slipping up in that time. And there's just sort of a part of it which is just like this is a very this it's just a very unique situation that these people have put in. I think it's quite interesting to watch. Yeah.
I kind of I want someone to take this show idea, take the money that's like at stake here, put it on a table with a game of Secret Hitler. just just make that every episode.
Well, I wonder what they're going to do with season 2, because obviously all the people who are in season 2 will have watched season 1, so they've got to do interesting different things. There's a lot of twists and turns they add
Yeah,
in
yeah,
throughout the
you
whole
can't
thing.
do that simple concept over
Yeah,
and over and over again, right?
yeah, they've got to do more stuff, but there's some pretty good twists and turns as they go, and the way that they like just constantly keep up an air of like nothing is what it seems, and there's traitors at every corner. Oh, it's pretty good. Right, we're going to take a brief break there because we're an hour in, and when we come back, we'll have games. We've got some fun games to talk about. We've got some interesting movies to talk about, and then we'll be talking about Maria Bamford's Old Baby, another stand-up special. So look forward to that. We'll see you in a mo. Right, we're on a break. The stream title, I've said this many times before, but I will say it again. I only update the stream title for the main reviews. And we did talk about it for quite a long time, but Traitors and Kaleidoscope were our other reviews that I don't update the title for, just because we're talking quickly and we're moving on. At some point in the future, I might work out a better way to do this, but both running the stream and doing the talking, it's difficult to keep up everything. But thank you for keeping us on our toes, because I know that there are definitely things that we do fuck up as we go. Welcome in everybody who joined us as we went along. We're just going to go grab a drink in a sec, just have a brief break. But before we do, I'll reiterate what we said before the stream, which is that we've set a provisional date for the 24-hour podcast. So put in your calendars July the 1st and 2nd. The reason there's 2 days is because it will start at some point on July the 1st and end at some point on July the 2nd. So we're going to be looking at like getting people together for guest slots and all that jazz over the next 6 months. So that'd be really cool. And the other thing is that this year's Bunyip Awards will be on the 21st of February. It'll be 2 weeks after the February episode, so tune in for that. And you can check out the Bunyip Review Twitter. We're going to post up there like all of the candidates and all of the actual nominees that we're going to be talking about on there, so you can check them out. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Jonas?
What would I want to say to people? Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you're all well.
Oh yes, Happy New Year.
Yeah, 2023. I don't know what else to say. Jamie called me out on not doing enough audio segments, audio only segments in the last podcast. So now the Lord Pass.
Good. I've been enjoying them.
So there are more audio only sections in the audio podcast. So if you think that you're getting the definitive version of the Bunyip Review, there's no such thing anymore. They're two distinctly different products, just with a lot of overlap.
Yeah. The bulk of it's the same, but you've got to listen for the Easter eggs that you get on each different side.
Yeah.
Listen to everything twice. That's the important thing. All right, we're going to take a brief break. We'll be back in a mo, everybody. So stick around and we'll do games and movies. See you in a mo.
See you in a mo. Bye.
Right. Are we ready? No, apparently not.
Yeah.
Oh, no! Piss.
Oh, brightness up does brightness down. Oh, I'm holding it upside down. That's why.
If you've eaten an apple just before you drink piss, then it's still good. It's still good. You know it's good piss. Yeah.
The cars will be coming shortly. Get out of the road.
Oh. Oh, no. I forgot that was... How do you know the key for that?
Okay. Sorry, Stu, that's not immediately choose it.
I'm someone who's very focused around comfort, and leather does not look good.
Oh god, I'm glad for the second half.
I am horny for rice pudding. Hashtag all boobs matter. So this is launch rocket. Oh! Oh my god, we're gonna die again! I've never been sucked so many times in one session. You don't have to be gay to examine the hit points of a nutsack. We're gonna take a brief break to fix this. Hammering away at those rocks.
Oh, hey laddie, I'm Scotland.
You see someone wearing that little purple logo and you know there's pussy about. Tom's souffle has collapsed and so he's shanked David in a fit of rage. My YouTube apology will be up tomorrow.
Fully monetized, 46 minutes. 18 ad breaks.
You got to make some money somehow. This is how the pros do it. Oh no! No, 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 no! No, 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 no!
I would not.
Just trying to get a rifle. Oh!
Are you beating them to death?
No. This is how this is going now. This is how this game is played now. This is Silent Assassin's suit only. Done!
Oh, you dickhead!
We start off by building. Oh, oh shit! Right, that's a good start. Oh shit! Oh my god!
What? Oh!
Run! Oh my god! What is it with this game? I see what you mean by eagles.
Oh shit!
Why do I not learn from my mistakes? Why do I never learn from my mistakes? Finally understand how autopilot works. Please don't accelerate me into the planet. Oh, shit. Oh. Jesus Christ. What? No! I lost the sight. No! What happened there?
I don't want to talk about it, Jamie.
Can I have my fishing rod, please?
With my. It says I've met 34 out of 35 people. But I've met
Health, I need that health
shit,
kit.
Wall's coming.
Oh my god.
Take my
Oh my god. No.
Take my metal.
I don't know if I'm actually gonna get this health kit in time. I had 1 health left.
Jesus Christ.
One kill. Oh, watch out! One kill.
Amazing.
And you got a screenshot as well from that.
You can never have too few guns in a gunfight.
You can never have too few guns. What about 0 guns? That's too few guns in a gunfight.
There's definitely too few guns. You can never have more.
Well, I died. Oh, drum roll. It barely started, I'm already getting murdered. Ah! Did you just blow me up? Just like burst open, like a fucking comedy clown car or something. Oh, yeah. Jumps.
Jumped again.
I just realised that the drug lord was literally shouting at me over the thing. I don't think I'd do well in a high-pressure drug lord environment. I'd be dead in a heartbeat. Oh!
It was like.
Jesus! Oh my god!
I completely forgot about that. I completely and utterly forgot about that.
His name is Mr. Deliver. He will give what you can't.
No, I got this. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. This is a masterclass, my friend.
Your kill was witnessed.
Oh, fuck! Where the fuck did you come from?
Shoot him! Stop reloading!
I'm a cross-dressing sailor dominatrix who does the early shift.
I was not expecting that.
I will not let you through. Detain! We fucking got it! Gulag! You done fucked up, my friend. Gonna get gulag and death thanks to me. No! Just get permit, it's fine. Detain! Off to gulag. Now that man is going to gulag. Aha! Wrong! What do you have to say for yourself, you son of a bitch? Detain! To the gulag with you! Got any bombs? Well, that looks like a weapon to me. You have made a mistake coming in here. Is it so obvious? Yes. To the gulag, my friend. They don't look the same. Detain! Female? Female? Interrogate! Are you a woman? Please let me through. In the gulag! I have family to not feed. To the gulags with you! You're wasting my time. Aha. Wrong. Wrong. Detain! Passport is your ticket the fuck out of here. No. I'm not leaving. Detain! Oh! No, you fucking ain't. Detain! To the gulag! If nudes are bad, you will go to gulag. Detain? Detain. Well, that's different. I do not understand. Detain! Oh no, I thought that was wrong. I have no idea what you're talking about. Detain! Detain!
To the gulag with you! Aha! You done fucked up. Detain! To the gulag with you! What's going on here? Detain! The gulags are going to be full today. Just in time for Christmas. Ah! Gotcha, you fucker. Detain! One last gulag to round off the day. Female.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. No, I was just laughing at our conversation. Our doorbell just went. Hold on.
Maybe do you want to invite them to the podcast? Let's see. Am I just live? I'm just live by myself. Hello. Oh no. People can hear me. Don't look at me. I have too much power back now, so oh well.
Well, there we go. Okay. There we go. Well, back to the podcast, shall we?
What was so entertaining? What's so entertaining about this? What's going on here?
It's just so we regularly get people try and deliver stuff to not our, to who don't there. There's another place near us that has a similar address, so regularly people try and deliver stuff that isn't for us. But Fairy told me that he has his own Netflix account that's not our Netflix account, Laura and I's, so he can tell us if he has a different order of episodes on Kaleidoscope.
While we're on the topic, Steltech, Mary and I still have different Netflix accounts. And I think that's because we mostly use my Netflix account in the house because it's the Netflix account on the PlayStation in the living room. But I think Mary still uses her Netflix account because I think Mary, Mary, obviously correct me if I'm wrong.
Things from you.
I don't know if I'm allowed to. Dependence. Yeah, I don't. If Netflix are listening to this, I don't want to say too much because they're coming.
They do.
Because they're coming down with the ban hammer, aren't they? So
they treat our Netflix randomizer as market research.
Exactly. And by even saying the word Netflix on the podcast, we are technically part of their property. Same with Disney. Same with Dungeons and Dragons these days. Apparently, just if you just say any big product name, then you just belong to them.
Dental plan.
Yeah,
Lisa needs braces.
Mary trades Netflix for dental plan.
Lisa needs braces.
So there.
Should we do a podcast?
We should do a podcast, but also I want to bring up.
Yep.
Jamie, I'm tempted to revolt against stand-up comedy in our Netflix randomizers.
No,
because
this is how it works.
It's not a film.
It is. It is.
This whole year is just going to be stand-up specials.
Tell you what. As like an addendum to the award show, we will have a viewer vote to determine whether stand-up counts. Okay? We will hand it over to democracy. There'll be no storming of the Capitol here. We will honour the result. If you tune in to the and put this bit in the audio podcast, if you tune in live to the award ceremony show, you get to vote on whether you think the stand-up counts as movies for the Netflix randomizer, and maybe also we'll do a Twitter poll and we'll merge the results together.
You better vote correctly, you shits.
I think I think it counts. I like that it counts because it means that sometimes I only need to watch 40 minutes.
It is okay, so that is a blessing. That is a genuine blessing of that format.
I'll be honest, a lot of the stand-up is significantly better than some of the movies we've had to watch.
I find them less interesting to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. Although I think this one's quite interesting.
Yeah, an exception. But when this month,
Laura says, I hope you'll be publishing intended methodology for merging the results beforehand for proper rigor. This is what we get for living. This is what I get for living with a data
I
scientist.
was just gonna say, well, that's data science, and we're not data scientists. We are but humble men.
Do you want to,
Nay.
do you want to know what my methodology will be? It will be adding the numbers from one vote to the numbers from the other vote, and then the one with the largest number wins.
It will be the power of simple addition.
Right. Are we ready to go?
We're always ready to go. We're never not ready to go. Test me.
All right. What's the next review?
It's games. It's games. It's my game.
I can't be you. I've currently got it on TV for some reason. No, that's movies. There we go. Games. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. We're on the game section, and first up, Jonas, what's your big review for this month?
Oh, my big game review this month, Jamie, is Yakuza Like a Dragon. Yakuza Like a Dragon. Some content warnings. It's a violent game. People get shot. There is a death that is made to look like a suicide. That's genuinely quite visually disturbing. And then otherwise, it's mostly just about crime and Japan. So if any of those themes would upset you, or you are sensitive to those things, perhaps think twice before playing or viewing content from this game. Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon, otherwise known as Yakuza Like a Dragon, otherwise known as Yakuza 7, is the latest game in the Yakuza series, which the whole series is about to be renamed to Like a Dragon so that they stop calling it Yakuza, which isn't confusing, especially when you know that the developer is called Ryu ga Gotoku, which is it translates to Like a Dragon. So the studio Like a Dragon are going to make games like a dragon after making Yakuza Like a Dragon. Anyways, I'm going to call this Yakuza 7 for the most part. Yakuza 7 is part of the mainline Yakuza games, but where Yakuza 0 to 6 all feature the protagonist Kazuma Kiryu, Yakuza 7 has the player take control of a brand new protagonist, Ichiban Kasuga. Ichiban Kasuga is a former Yakuza member who, when released from prison after 18 years, attempts to piece together what has happened to his Yakuza family during his time away and rebuild his own life. Yakuza 7 is sort of a soft reboot for the series. Previous titles would have expected the player to be quite familiar with the series, the characters, the world of its previous games, whereas Yakuza 7 has a protagonist that we've never seen before. It sort of has a new setting in that you play largely in an area that's never been played before in the other games, and it has completely redesigned mechanics, especially where the combat's involved, which makes Yakuza 7 play very differently from its predecessors. Old Yakuza games had you fight enemies using this sort of like action brawler style of combat, as in press square to do a punch, press circle to do a grab, that sort of thing. Whereas Yakuza 7 has introduced sort of quite a controversial change, turn-based combat. You'll encounter enemies on the street and the game will warp into a battle mode, same as it always has. But now you and your party members all transform into whatever class or jobs you've equipped them with, and then you get to input commands for each character one at a time, whilst sort of still your characters all sort of idly roam the 3D environment that you were originally walking around in. It's a bold move to change the combat design of these games. Yakuza is famous for having Kiryu Kazuma walk up to groups of thugs and introduce each of their faces to various forms of blunt force trauma, the best of which are animated with these like beautifully detailed, unique mini cutscenes and given these quick time events to kind of elevate the feeling of action. Yakuza 7 lets me take my time looking through this unique list of attacks, buffs, and spells and items before deciding what action I want to perform without the interruption of 7 angry onlookers. That said, it works really well. The combat is fun. It's visually really entertaining to watch. The abilities are all unique and interesting with really fun descriptions and kind of visuals for how they play out. And I love having a party of sort of interesting characters that I can develop rather than just the one mega tough guy Kiryu who I level for the 100th time in a row. And there's also a fun quirk to this, which is all the combat in Yakuza 7 is actually just Ichiban Kasuga fantasizing that the fights are like Dragon Quest because he's a fan of Dragon Quest. So canonically, you're beating up people with fists and kicks, but in gameplay, you're pulling out swords and spells and abilities and doing crazy like RPG moves. And I love that they write that kind of like that disillusionment into the narrative itself. But my favorite thing about Yakuza 7 has to be the party members. Ichiban kind of finds himself fighting alongside a retired detective who's let himself go, a homeless man who used to be a nurse, a bartender who owns her own business, and a few other allies along the way. Every step you take, the whole party are there with you, backing you up in cutscenes, main story events, chipping in during quirky and comedic side quests you do, and you get to level up their unique classes and abilities in the gameplay as well. Having their presence throughout the game is a welcome change, given how much of the previous games have really had this really strong lone wolf vibe, which admittedly is really cool, but it's been 7 games, and I think it's time for a little bit of change. I think I've been loving this game. I'm moments away from the ending. I'm in the final chapter of the game, and we just got there last night. I highly recommend this game to anyone looking for a sort of a fun and polished, rewarding action RPG experience. I had to take a pause and drink some water. I was so close to the end of this. Ah, I'm gonna die.
You've got this, pal.
Thanks, buddy.
You Kazu do this.
Kazu, do this. Thanks, buddy.
Yakuza do this.
I see what you're trying to do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Push through to the end.
Whoa. Almost knocked a pen off the table. Oh! Drop the pen. I'm done.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Yakuza 7 has been a game that's kind of been occupying a lot of my Christmas holidays. We've sort of been playing it in the living room, and it's been like half a sort of movie game experience for both me and Mary. And we're so close to the end now. And I can really like honestly sort of say that I can't recommend this game enough to anyone who's looking for sort of a fun no.
Yeah, do you need to take a break?
I've not had this bad a cough. It's just that I'm doing this much talking.
Yeah.
It's all right. We're gonna get there.
Okay.
I'm just gonna jump off. I'm just gonna jump off from where I left it.
If it really does become impossible, we can do what we've done before and
pick it up. I know.
Pick it up another day. So.
I would like to finish my paragraph.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Final paragraph. I'd highly recommend this game to anyone looking for a fun, polished, and rewarding action RPG experience. The English localization is amazing. There's no issue sort of picking Japanese or English dialogue for this game. If you think the Japanese dialogue would put you off, just pick English. The dubbing is incredible. It's really fun. What I would say, if anyone's playing this or considering playing this as their first Yakuza game, just be aware that Yakuza games classically and continue to be very long games that are very cutscene heavy. There's sort of easily 1 hour of cutscene for every 5 hours of gameplay. So while this will last you a long time, just be aware that you will spend quite a lot of time sort of watching a quite complex and very kind of thoroughly acted narrative play out. And 2, don't skip any of the optional content. Yakuza is is an incredible game series for its side quests, for its writing outside the main series, and for the silly little things that happen in the world of Yakuza outside the really serious narrative. So if you play this, absolutely play the side content. That's all I've got to say on Yakuza Like a Dragon, aka Yakuza 7. Jamie, how do you feel about Yakuza? The game, maybe not the organization.
I'm a fan of both. I think. No, I no. So I haven't yet played a Yakuza game. They've always been games that are like on my list to play. Like I own a few of them, I think, on Steam, and you know, I like open world sort of. I'll take that in again. Sorry, Laura's just currently reaching across my desk and knocking things over. I set a bunch of traps to stop her from stealing chocolate that she set off. So
Wow. I'm glad it's working.
What
God,
was I
there are
saying?
so many edits we're gonna have to make here. It's so fucking. You know what? I might just. This all stays in. This all stays in.
Oh my god, it's gonna be the most rambly, weird podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't even remember what I was saying. Yeah, no. So Yakuza games have been on like on my list to play for a long time. You know, I like big open world RPG kind of things. Would you say that this is a good jumping on point? Then you said that this is a sort of soft reset. But do you think that someone who started with this game, you know, would this be their entrance to the series, or would they play this and the other ones in the series would be a bit of a shock? You know, do you think that people who really love this on their first play would not so much like the others?
I think it really depends heavily on what you take away from this game. If you play this game because you like party management, leveling up classes, equipping the right weapon, finding that an enemy has a weakness to a certain type of damage and then exploiting that. You know, if you really like those kind of elements of turn-based RPG combat, and then you go play another Yakuza game, the other Yakuza game will be, you know, sort of a square, square, triangle punch combo, you know, where you're just doing light attack and heavy attacks. And you're not strategizing at all. You are doing brawler combat to win or lose a fight. But if what you like about Yakuza is the tone, the acting, the way the story develops, the way that the side quests are always really like goofy or emotional or generally very like detached from the serious nature of the main story. If you find yourself quite enveloped in the world of these Yakuza games, then the other Yakuza games will absolutely be your cup of tea, and I'd recommend going back and playing them. But if you like the turn-based combat, that seems to be the gambit that like they've really kind of taken a bit of a risk implementing that into this game, and it's worked. So if you like that combat element of this game, this is the only game that's done that thus far. But if it pays off dividends, then they're going to keep doing it in future games.
And going on with the writing thing, I remember you talked about a Yakuza game previously. You reviewed another Yakuza game on the podcast, and one of the things that you talked about with that was how much you enjoyed the writing, but particularly how much you enjoyed the side quest writing and how much you enjoyed the additional stuff to do. And you've talked about it again with this one. You know, just I know we've hashed this ground before, but what really makes that side quest stuff stand out? What makes it more better than just like those additional side quest dungeons you do in Skyrim or something?
So a lot of it is because it's very story driven, the side quest. Like you'll come off a main quest, and in the main quest your boss, who just handed you a bunch of money and gave you a new job and gave you somewhere to live, you walk in and you find he's dead, and that's really harrowing and emotional. And now your next quest is to go hunt down the quick killer. But wait a second, you bump into a man who is wheeling his daughter in a wheelchair to hospital for a surgery, and he says, yeah, this surgery, it's going to be really dangerous. I don't know if she'll survive. and the girl points to a tree with a single fruit hanging off it and says, "I die when that fruit falls off that tree." And then she leaves. And you're like, that's where the side quest ends for now. And you're like, okay. You come back to that tree later on, and there's a new side quest. Someone is practicing wrestling right next to the tree, and they're bashing into the tree. You stop them to stop that fruit from falling down. You are successful. You come back later. A boy is hammering a straw doll into the tree because he's trying to cast a curse on someone. You stop him. All of these lead to fights, by the way. Everything in Yakuza is resolved with combat. That's just the way it works.
Yeah, of course.
And then it's like, and it's the absurdity of you're trying to protect a fruit from falling off a tree to save a girl's life, but you're also meeting interesting characters that all have their own reasons for being in that place and almost knocking the fruit off that tree. And you do all that, and that's like a side quest that's got 5 parts that kind of keeps ramping up in absurdity as you go. And as you keep doing that, meanwhile, you're doing a side quest where someone has been spotted peeing into a river, and you need to now walk around the river and find people who look like they might try and pee into the river and beat them up. And when you talk to them, everyone makes a bunch of puns about yellow, golden, showers, flowing, stream, everything like that. All of those puns get made in like 2 minutes. And then you go play a mini game where you pick up cans on a bicycle so that you can make money because you're homeless. Then you go play a mini game where you try not to fall asleep during a movie in the cinema. And then you come back to the tree and you fight a guy who's got a new sniper rifle and he's trying to test it on the fruit. And it just,
I guess
it's,
it sounds like it sounds like they're having fun with everything.
yes.
There's that's what you want, right? You want a game that feels like people had fun making it. That they were sat around and they were going like, okay, we've got this plot. This is our main plot. This is the driving story. But we have a whole world here, and we make games for a living. What would be fun? What would be funny? What would be interesting? Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds great. That sounds like it gives life to it, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. They're all really rewarding. And what ends up happening is all of those side characters end up looping back into the main game somehow. So, like, everyone you help, they might be an ally that you can summon to do an ability later on in the game. Or everyone you help, you might be able to hire them for your other side game where you run a business, and they might have really good stats because
Right.
they're better than all the normal staff because you actually went through the effort of doing their side quest. So
That's
it's,
always a nice thing. That's like all the people coming back at the end of Horizon Zero Dawn from all the side quests you've done
yeah,
and things. Like
it's
it's nice to feel that there's, you know, it's not game changing, but there's something extra you get because you took the time and the care to do this stuff.
it's exactly that. And all the Yakuza games, they have this level of detail, this level of kind of like fun and playfulness. And there's no end to it as well. There's so much content in that side quest stuff, and almost all of it is rewarding. Like, I'm not going to sit here and name every side quest, but I probably could remember all of them if that makes sense. Like, none of them are actually forgettable.
Yeah.
They are all memorable in some way, and they're all just good fun.
Cool. All right. Well, so you've just gotten out of prison. You are formerly associated with an East End gang because again, we don't live in Japan. So you're formerly associated with an East End gang, and you're trying to find out what's happened to all your old gang mates down in the East End. But instead of being obsessed with Dragon Quest, you're obsessed with like old school text adventures. And you get into a fight scene, and instead of it being a turn-based strategy fight, it's a text adventure where your only weapon is typing in a one-sentence review of the game Yakuza Like a Dragon. What do you type to win the fight?
um, I type
I'm
a
getting praise
worthy
from the chat for my for my prompt.
I type a worthy successor, but an even better start.
Oh, enigmatic. All right, we're going to move on to my review of the month. Um, this is I know we've had hundreds of edits, but we might as well go for another one. Jonas, we have half the podcast to do, and it is 10 o'clock. What do you want to do?
Do you want to finish the game section at least?
Okay, we'll finish the game section, and then we'll reassess whether we're gonna.
We'll reassess.
come
Yeah,
back.
because it's just dry. It's dry throat. It's not anything else. So.
No, I know, I get it. I'm happy to come back later, or I'm happy to go all the way through. I mean, it is a long one if we do go all the way through tonight, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, all right. I'll come back. I'll come back in. All right, it's my game for this month, and this month I'm reviewing a bit of an older game. This month I'm talking about Darkest Dungeon. This is a game that I started playing because Laura started playing it, and I was envious watching her playing it. And so I played a bit over the Christmas period. For those of you who don't know what Darkest Dungeon is, I'll give you a little primer. It's basically a roguelike dungeon crawler. A terrible curse has befallen your family and turned your home into a horrible hell portal. So you return to your hometown to sort it out and collect together various adventurers to help you do so. In Darkest Dungeon, you form teams of up to 4 adventurers to go on expeditions into various ruins and dungeons. And these adventurers are pulled from a pool of people you've recruited, XCOM style, from a random pool offered to you each week, each with their own class and random starting skills. In the town, you can upgrade them, equip them, and look after them before you send them off, buying provisions for the journey. Sorry. I don't know why I've written tell there. To help you. Let's try this again. Put another edit in. Might as well go for the most edits of any podcast. You can write it.
Yep.
In town,
Thanks,
you can up me. And the award for the just most chaotic podcast goes to.
This episode's never coming out now.
Right. In town, you can upgrade them, equip them, and look after them before sending them off, buying provisions for the journey to help counter whatever it is you might meet on the journey ahead. The meat of the game is these expeditions. You'll travel from room to room in a 2D side-scrolling fashion, investigating possibly trapped loot and fighting quite intense turn-based battles as you try to meet some preset objective for the expedition. These battles in particular can be pretty brutal, ranging from tough but manageable to utterly devastating. And a lot of that difficulty comes from Darkest Dungeon's headline mechanic, stress. Characters accumulate stress through, well, basically everything. Walking in the dark, being critically hit by an opponent, opening a particularly scary book. This stress begins to mess with them. If they get too much, they can get some awful trait like paranoia or selfishness and start ignoring your commands and doing whatever they want to do. And if they get even more stress, they can literally have a heart attack right there and then. Sometimes characters will also randomly gain personality traits like a fear of ruins or kleptomania, which start to tip the balance of whether they're actually a useful person to bring on missions or just a hindrance that will get everyone else killed. When all of this works, it is excellent and deeply thematic. Characters' personalities matter just as much as their skills when bringing them along on missions. Dave might be able to kill a man in one swing, but he doesn't handle stress so good, and he's just as likely to kill your healer too. There's a palpable sense of beating the odds when you pull off a success, which is up there with some of the best tactical combat games. But often, poor luck can cascade. It rarely feels like you can shrug off any one thing. A poorly timed crit from an enemy semi-regularly ends in a full 4-man heart attack session. It feels like a lot of the game is built upon fairly opaque and tightly tuned dice rolls that can cause some quite demoralizing moments. It's incredibly thematic, though. The feeling of beating the odds and overcoming the impossible is threaded through every part of this game, from the grim dark art style to the deep echoey sound design to the gravelly narrator. Darkest Dungeon knows what it wants to be, and it executes on that. For me, though, too much of it felt as though it was out of my hands. My closest comparison felt like XCOM, but in that game, the fuck ups felt like my own. In Darkest Dungeon, I often felt like things were going well and then a dice had been rolled and all my people just killed each other. It's possible that with more playtime, I could learn the nuances and the intricacies of it to help mitigate that feeling somewhat, but at the moment, I just don't have the time. I think it is a great game. I really do, despite my misgivings. But it's a very specific experience that I don't think is for everyone. We briefly talked about this a while back. Jonas, you've played Darkest Dungeon a little bit, haven't you?
I've played Darkest Dungeon. I think I've bounced off it 3 times. And I call it, I would very proudly call it an incredible game. Um, and I think I absolutely agree with every element that you sort of touched on here. I think when it comes to like mood and aesthetic, Darkest Dungeon like really delivers on this like kind of this I don't know what word I'm trying to find, but this sort of like dark vampire fantasy, twisted, decrepit mansion at the top of a hill falling to pieces with 4 people in the middle of nowhere like drinking their dirty ale as they kind of pick up their rusty swords and broken armor and head off for another adventure, not really expecting to survive. Like, it's really good at that. The narrator in Darkest Dungeon is legendary. Like, every time you're fighting and something happens, like let's say you get hit and one of your characters gets like the bleed condition, the narrator will just be like, yet another drip of crimson red stains the ground beneath your feet.
That's a good impression.
And it's just so fucking good, especially when you mentioned the bad luck, but the game has this chance that when a character hits critical stress, they might overcome it. They might gain a positive boost from the stress, right? So a character that would have become a kleptomaniac suddenly becomes virtuous, and now they're buffed up and helping their team. And it's those moments where it's like, oh my god, I'm triumphing, I'm overcoming the darkness, yes.
It's interesting though so there, like you say, there are mechanics where things can go right. Like if someone runs out of health, they don't immediately die. They have a chance of dying the next time they are hit, right? So every time they get hit, you're like, fuck, is this it? Nope. Okay, fuck, is this it? Nope. Okay, you're still alive. Or like when they get maximum stress, they have a chance of having a heart attack and things like that. That sometimes causes these things where you're like, fuck, I've had a great set. Like, this is amazing. That person rallied at maximum stress and we killed it and it was amazing. But it never feels like you did it.
Yeah,
It
I know.
always feels like the game deigned to give you this for no good reason. and that, I think, for me is that, I compared it again to XCOM, which, everyone jokes about XCOM's random shot chance and, and how difficult XCOM can be at times. But I never felt in XCOM like a major mistake wasn't my own fault, or that a major success wasn't my own success. And this game doesn't feel like that for me.
I know what you mean. Good news is that there is a Darkest Dungeon 2 in early
Yes.
development on the Epic Game Store. So what that means is I've not played it. I think I'm going to wait for it to enter 1.0.
I think so too.
And then
yes.
if it ends up on Steam or Game Pass or something like that, or maybe even the Switch, I think I'll play it on
It would be
another
a good handheld
platform.
game, I think. This would be a good handheld game, and I'm assuming if the second one is close enough to it, I imagine it would be too. Sylvan was talking about it before and saying that, because Sylvan's a massive Darkest Dungeon fan, and they were saying that the second one looks to have eased off a bit. It's a bit more
Right.
focused on personalities and characters and a bit less focused on just killing you at every turn.
Sure.
But Sylvan also absolutely loves the first one, so probably has a higher tolerance for bullshit than I do.
It's the reason I bounced off it so much is because I bounced off of the kind of the debilitating kind of failure element of the game, which you know how competitive I am, and my entire brand online is that I'm a salty bastard. So the concept of a game that punishes me and makes me do badly even when it's possible to make all the right decisions and still lose, right? Like that's
Yeah.
Darkest Dungeon to a T.
Yeah.
That
You
you
know,
you
like I have a higher tolerance for this than you do. You know, I played XCOM to death, right, in a game that you bounced off of, but even for me, like I would have losses are punishing, like
mm,
incredibly punishing. You know, it calls itself a roguelike, but actually really what it is when you lose a whole team, that guts it for you. And I like I had at least twice where I had just such a disappointing fail that I had to leave it for a day.
yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I know that feeling well. Yeah, it's but I mean, yeah, it's such a beautiful game. It's artistically very cool. Its combat is fun. The classes are interesting as well. Like
Yeah.
you have like a highwayman, and then you have a jester, and then you have like a plague doctor, and they're all doing things like summoning tentacles out the ground, and
There's
like
so much creativity in it, and you know,
and
all of the content they've added since the game came out as well has just enhanced it. I think it's, you know, it's an interesting thing to have experienced.
the little the way the combat works as well with the positioning. So you've got a person who's at the front of your team, and there's someone at the front of the enemy's team, and most attacks will hit these two people, but there are special attacks that can hit the people at the back. And
Man, that is so. Actually, I should have talked about this in the review, but the positioning aspect of the combat is one of the most interesting things you'll see in a game, and it's well worth trying it just for this, because at first it feels like a mechanic of, oh yeah, obviously, you know, swordsmen go at the front, casters go at the back or whatever, but you start to end up in this situation where characters can move other people around, like enemies can move your guys around in the order, or that you know, characters sometimes move when they do abilities, like someone lunges forwards when they attack, and those abilities start to interact with each other. So, like, if you have a character who lunges forwards when he attacks, he's now further forward. So, some of his abilities don't work and other abilities do. But also, the person he lunged in front of is now back a place. So, now
yeah,
the abilities they have access to are different. I ended up in a situation where one of my guys died. The guy at the front of the queue died. And I was like, well, that's okay. I think we can still finish this. But what I didn't think about is that now the back three people are no longer in positions 4, 3, and 2. They are now in positions 3, 2, and 1.
yeah.
And my healer, who could only heal from positions 3 and 4, was now in position 2.
So couldn't heal
So
anymore.
couldn't heal
And
anymore.
yep, yep.
And the way that mechanic shifts and changes the sort of flow of the game is so interesting and so nuanced, and I think it's a really clever system.
It's a combat system I would like to see in a much lighter, more forgiving kind of like, game tactic situation thing. And
Yeah,
I'm sure it's not entirely unique to Darkest Dungeon, but Darkest Dungeon certainly like executes it very well.
I think you're right, but I also, you know, I'd love to see, you know, variations on the best mechanics, you know, a kaleidoscope of various different versions of these kind of things. But I do think that that mechanic in particular, but also a lot of what Darkest Dungeon does well, I think the real meat of it, or like the best of it, shines through when it's being tested. Like you see all of the nuances of it when it's working against you.
Yeah,
And
I know what you mean.
I think like you could easily go through most of Darkest Dungeon. If Darkest Dungeon was a lot easier, you could go through most of Darkest Dungeon not realizing the how important that positioning is.
Yeah,
And it's through
I
the
get you.
failures that you realize, oh fuck, this actually matters.
It's a game that really forces you to pay attention to every single thing it's offering you.
Mm.
In a lot of games, you can kind of ignore like, I don't need antidotes in this game, so they just sit in my inventory and I don't do anything with them. But Darkest Dungeon really makes you pay attention to like every mechanic, every number, every option, every chance for failure. You are almost like you are kind of like brutally taught to mitigate,
Mm.
like traumatic. You were sort of traumatized to the point that you mitigate every point of failure.
Yeah, you go
um
into every dungeon with like hundreds of torches, and you're like, "Oh, we can't take any treasure out of the dungeon." It's like, I know, but I can see, and that's all that matters.
yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
will be safe.
Or, it's like you'll walk up to a chest and you'll know that the chest probably has good treasure in it, but there's a chance that it's a portal to an eldritch monster that can ruin your run in 2 seconds. So you never open a chest for the rest of your life
Yeah,
because fuck that.
yeah.
No, it's really good, and I'm glad you're playing it. Um, can I give you your one line summary
Yes,
opening?
yes, okay, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't want to cut you off too early, but
Consent's
listen,
important.
consent is important. Dear James, the Bunyip Man, it is I, the Lord of this venerable house of the darkest dungeons. When you enter the dungeons, as I have asked you to do, you may find that you get stressed when your torch runs out of light. Now, Jamie, we have a condition in our family bloodline. When we get stressed, we can do naught but utter one sentence reviews of video games that we have recently talked about on a podcast. James, you must prepare yourself. What will you utter when you get stressed?
Uh, an excellent game that's far too spooky for me.
Spoopy.
Spoopy. All right, before we move on to the movie section, we've got some others in here to talk about. I've been playing what until relatively recently was a Sony exclusive. I've been playing Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered. Not that recently, actually. It's been on PC for a little bit. And did you play this at all when it was on PlayStation, Jonas?
To completion.
So you'll know it's bloody excellent.
Yeah.
And it might be the thing I review next month. You haven't reviewed it, have you?
Uh,
I don't think you have. No.
hmm.
So if you haven't, it's what I'll be reviewing next month. I was thinking about talking about it this month, and then I thought I want more time to play this game, like through and through. So I will talk about Darkest Dungeon first. I won't go into it too much because, like I said, I want to talk about it next month. But it is, I think, pace wise, I think amount of content, I think it's just right. I think it's a game that massively respects your time, but also feels like it has a massive scope to it, and I think that's great. I think I want a really big open world game, but I also don't want to feel like I have to watch 2 hour long cutscenes or I have to, play this and only this for the next 6 months to get anything out of it. No, I'm really, really enjoying it. I assuming because you completed it, you enjoyed it too, Jonas.
I did really enjoy it. I talked about this in the other section in May 2020.
Well, there we go.
There we go. Spider-Man is one of those examples where Sony exclusives have been doing really good jobs of releasing quite like I don't know, just really good concrete vision pieces, games that come out and they just deliver on like the kind of experience that they wanted to offer. They don't do too much, but they certainly don't deliver too little. They leverage their technology really well, and they just end up being like all-rounder strong, like 8 out of 10 games. So like Horizon's in that ball camp. I mean, Last of Us is obviously at the upper end of that. God of War's at the upper end of that. Ratchet and Clank's in there as well. Yeah, they're just delivering these really consistently like high quality games that just kind of do what they do quite well.
And the other thing
Um,
as well is the PC port of Spider-Man is bloody brilliant. The Horizon was really good. Horizon's port was fantastic. Spider-Man's is flawless. And having grown up in the era of PlayStation to PC ports, be it where they were absolutely atrocious, it's quite satisfying booting up a game that is a port from PlayStation and it feeling like it was made for PC.
and it
You
just
know,
works, yeah.
whacking on ray
Um,
tracing and DLSS, and it just goes, and I don't drop a frame.
no, I'm really glad you're enjoying it. I've still got the Miles Morales sort of not DLC, half
Yes,
sequel,
I
half
looked at
sequel.
that when it came out, and I thought, right, I'll play through the main one, and if I liked it, I'll play through Miles Morales, and I'm already thinking, well, yeah, I'll play Miles Morales. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I've got that still to complete. It's sort of just gathering a little bit of dust, but I was enjoying it, and there's nothing wrong with it. I just moved on to something else at some point. Um, cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm looking forward to seeing what you if you want to talk about it at length.
You've also put down Nobody Saves the World.
Yeah. Do you know what this is?
No, I've never heard of it.
It's an indie game that came out last year. I think like near the beginning of last year, like February. It's on the Game Pass. And it's really good. I just like let me starting with that. It's really good. It's a little like 2D top-down sort of like dungeon crawling, world exploring game where you start off as a man who basically can do nothing, and then you get the ability to transform into a rat. And then once you've been a rat for a while, you get the ability to transform into like a guard and a ranger. And then they split out into like a mermaid, a turtle, a ghost, a robot, and a strong man. And then they split out into like a necromancer and something else and something else and something else and something else. And all of these forms all have their own unique like main ability, two side abilities, a unique passive, and then you can transform into a fucking egg. And what happens is the game asks you, so NPCs around the world are asking you to go do silly things and save the world, basically. And as you play the game, whatever class you're playing as, so let's say I'm playing as the ghost. The ghost starts off as a low level, like a rank F or something. And then if I want to get it to rank D, I've got a little quest and it's like kill 30 enemies using your basic attack. Okay, cool. Go do that. Great. Cool. Now kill 15 enemies using like the secondary ability and the basic attack. Now specifically hit this many enemies at the same time with this ability and that sort of stuff. Like every class gets its own branch of quests to complete. As you complete them, that form goes up a level. And when your form goes up a level, you unlock new forms and you unlock new abilities. And then you get the ability to customize a form with the other passives and other abilities from other forms so that you can kind of make this perfect smorgasbord of playable little characters. And you can just snap between all of them in a second. Like you can just run through a dungeon, and 1 second you're a mermaid, you fire a bubble, then you can snap into the rat and go bite something. Then you can go snap into the bodybuilder and bench some weights and sort of things. And it's fun, it's fast, it's fluid, it's really the scale's really well curated. Like nothing's too far away, but nothing's too short. Everything's that really right kind of right depth to it, and it just really delivers the kind of like the enjoyable dopamine hits of like an indie adventure game with very little failing. And it's got a co-op, it's got local co-op. So Mary and I have been playing it on the PlayStation, and it's like we'll sit there and we'll think about how we can kind of complement each other's abilities, or Mary will focus on that quest with that character and I'll focus on this quest with this character. And it's just fun. It's really silly and simple. But damn, it's a damn good game.
That sounds interesting. Yeah, well,
I,
maybe I'll give that a go.
yeah, I don't think it's the game I'm ever going to review full. So this is probably the most I will positively say about it.
Okay.
But yeah, Nobody Saves the World. It's great. I think it was a bit of a sleeper hit from last year, which is why I want to kind of give it a good positive push now. Check it out.
Okay. And you've also been playing 20 Minutes Till Dawn, which when I saw you playing it the other day, I Googled it, and it looks like Vampire Survivors, but with 10 less minutes.
It's it's Vampire Survivors with 10 less minutes,
Yeah.
probably like 30 less characters and less weapons.
Right.
All the characters are anime girls.
Right. Okay.
You pick an anime girl
Mhm.
or an anime girl aesthetic. You pick a gun. The gun could be like pistol, shotgun, SMG, flamethrower, a gun that shoots bats, a grenade launcher,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Um, and you pick one of 3 levels, which I'll be honest, aren't very different. Um, and then you do Vampire Survivors, but you actually have to do the aiming and shooting in this game. So that's the big difference. Is the
Right.
weapons don't fire automatically. What 20 Minutes Till Dawn does better than Vampire Survivors is the leveling up process. When you level up, the upgrades you can give yourself are way more interesting. They're just things like when every second bullet you fire will zap someone with lightning for 22 damage. Now, the next upgrade, every time you hit someone with lightning, there's a 3% chance or a 30% chance that you'll get 3 bullets back, which means you don't have to reload as often. And you'll pair all of it's just got way more customization and more synergies going on.
It's a bit like Hades.
A bit like Hades, I guess. Yeah, it's just the synergies are more interesting. The leveling up process is more interesting than Vampire Survivors, I think. Vampire Survivors offers a lot more variety and interest kind of out the gate, whereas 20 Minutes Till Dawn offers a kind of a lot more of an interesting experience once you're at minute 10 of a playthrough.
Right. And a lot more anime girls as well.
And a lot more anime girls. So it's an easy win, isn't it? But no, I've been playing a decent amount of it. I've been having trouble sleeping, so I've been playing it when I can't sleep. And yeah, it's been good for that. I think it's a fun little, I don't know, it's an alternative to Vampire Survivors. If you're playing that and enjoying it, you don't need to play this. If you're like me and you went and got every single achievement in Vampire Survivors and there's nothing left to do in Vampire Survivors,
You're desperate for anime girls.
and you're desperate for anime girls and guns.
The only thing that can soothe your troubled sleeping.
Anime, yeah. Why not? Prescribed. 20 Minutes Till Dawn. It's there. Go check it out if you're interested.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Right. That's an edit point. Do you want to stop?
I'm going to get a tall glass of water and I'm going to power through.
Okay.
Because
right.
our next reviews are shorter. My next review is shorter.
I mean, they are written to be shorter. That does not mean they will be.
My next review is shorter. And if I don't want to talk, I'll just
stop.
I'll just sit. Yeah. I'll just stop. So I'm going to get some water.
Okay. All right.
Up to you if you want to be right back, but I will be right back, literally.
I'll hang out. Hello, pals. Welcome. It's a long old one today. How's everybody doing? Hello, Keb. Hello, Ray. I didn't probably say hello to you, Ray, but welcome. I like your new name change. Ray of Swords, very appropriate. What? Oh, Laura's playing Darkest Dungeon. She did not heed my review. Or maybe she is the person it's for. Actually, I didn't say it was bad. You can play Darkest Dungeon if you want. How's everybody doing? Hey? You all having good New Year's? Mine started off okay. It's been incredibly busy. I didn't get nearly as much stuff done in the December break as I thought I'd wanted to. But my hope is that tomorrow, at the beginning of the stream, you'll get to see something brand new. I've got to finish it tomorrow morning. I had to do a bunch of 3D rendering, but I haven't had a chance to properly put it all together. Hope I still got to rest. Well, kind of. We had the December break, but as is always the case with Christmas, it's not as restful as you think it will be. You're like, yeah, we get some time off work, but actually you spend that whole time, running around and seeing people and doing things. Hopefully I have a nice long lay-in over the weekend at some point. Climbing into bed as you speak. Have a lovely restful sleep, Steltec. Work is busy and a bit tricky, but I started 2023 being an actual slut, which is keeping me motivated. Well, I'm glad. You've either got a slut or work hard, and if you're doing either of them, then you're living a good life.
Good night. Good night, Steltec. Good night, Steltec.
Good night,
Sweet dreams.
Steltec. Sweet dreams.
Mummy loves you.
Right, should we power through the end of this?
Well, we're not live, are we?
We haven't been live this whole time. It's just been you and me doing this. All right. Okay. Well, let's pretend that nothing ever happened and the podcast just continues from here. Right. It's the movie section. Jonas, what's your movie for this month?
I am reviewing a movie and a location. The movie is called Amsterdam. Yeah, I realize I need to. I haven't written my content warnings for this, and I don't know why, so I apologize. Off the top of my head, this definitely has a bit of a bit of violence, and a bit of people with injuries. There's there's a lot of people with quite sort of disfiguring injuries, and there's a bit of like people who are in war, people surviving war or not surviving war. This is such a horrible description of a content warning. I'm really sorry about this. Amsterdam is generally a very light show, but there are definitely displays of violence and death in it, and obviously please be aware of that before you watch this film. I'm so sorry. Amsterdam.
I gave you the opportunity to bow out.
No, that's nothing to do with the throat. That's all on the brain. That's all on up here. Plus, we keep losing the flow, we keep losing the we get into a flow normally. Amsterdam is a movie directed and written by David Russell. It's a film set in the 1930s, and I'd say it's a quirky murder mystery comedy film in which veterans Bert Berendsen, I'm going to struggle to say that name, Bert Berendsen, who's played by Christian Bale, and Harold Woodman, who's played by John David Washington, are both hired to investigate the murder, or potential murder, really, the suspected murder of General Bill Meekins. To investigate this, they are hired by Liz Meekins, who is played by Taylor Swift. And along their journey, they meet a host of colourful characters played by a variety of familiar faces, such as Margot Robbie, Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Rock, Mike Myers, Rami Malek, Robert De Niro, just to name a few. There's a playful duality throughout Amsterdam. It sort of leverages the long life damage that war can inflict on a man with the absurdity and comedy of a sort of a whimsical Wes Anderson-esque flick. But Berendsen, I hate that name, is constantly wrestling against his mental and physical wounds sustained in war. From one moment, he's kind of wrestling all of those issues in his past, and then the next is being offered a fake eyeball from Mike Myers, who insists he's really into bird watching. It's that sort of absurdist duality and plot throughout. But one of the film's sort of first messages to the viewer is that its events really did take place. It's based on a true story. So the absurdity of the film can only go so far. To call it a murder mystery, though, might be an exaggeration. You're not carefully fed minute details and clues in such a way that you can kind of solve the mystery yourself, using simply information that the film offers you. And I bring that up, and it might be because we've recently been treated to, a lot of good murder mysteries out there, Glass Onion especially, and perhaps I'm comparing the two like that. So I think it's unfair to call Amsterdam a murder mystery on that scale. It's more of a fun, wacky adventure with questions throughout and answers at the end. I think that the star power of this film is one of those things that I think star power is something that, obviously shouldn't be the only good thing about a film. And thankfully, it's not the case here. Amsterdam manages to use its cast of big names to wonderful effect. Everyone in the film gets to play a slightly weird or exaggerated version of the 1930s caricature they are portraying, and none of them overstay their welcome at any point. Every familiar face is an absolute delight from start to finish. I wouldn't call this a perfect film by any measure. It's dense with fast and witty dialogue that, for me, just felt overwhelming at times. I was really struggling to find breathing room in a lot of the scenes, which would just mean that a lot of things would get said and a lot would get established. But I found that I was still kind of 5 minutes in the past, and the film was racing ahead of me. And so there were moments where I would sort of just have to I would sort of catch up with the film maybe 10 minutes later and sort of go, oh, that's what's happening. Okay. But during those 10 minutes, I found that the film was kind of losing my attention as it was just kind of bombarding me with a little bit too much whimsy, absurdity, and kind of witty wordplay. But there's their parts to perfection, and Christian Bale is just bloody fantastic in this movie. Absolutely. I don't have a lot more to say about it. I wish I thinking about it after your review of 1899, I would have liked to have spoken more about the 1930s aesthetics. They are very well done, and we're treated to a lot of backstory behind the characters and things. But the plot is something that I think, if you are interested in this film, you should watch the plot with very little knowledge, because I think it's nice for some of those surprises to happen genuinely when you watch it. Jamie, did you see Amsterdam? Do you know what Amsterdam is? Do you remember it
No,
coming out?
I didn't see it. I all I saw was sort of discourse about it being sort of underwhelming, and I think that was a lot of people talking about that they expected, something pretty exceptional from the cast, and that it wasn't as good as the cast presented. But you sound like you quite enjoyed it, regardless. Um, you talked about it being based on real events, and but also being quite absurdist. Did that play in the back of your mind? I know you said that like there's only so absurd it can get. Did that play in the back of your mind that like there's got to be a real grounding to this? There's only so far it can get, or did you sort of lose yourself in it?
I think, gosh, I think I managed to lose myself in it quite well. I wasn't sat there throughout the whole film going like, well, that didn't happen. Did that happen? Is that an original character? Is that made up, or is that a real character? Can I Wikipedia them? Do they exist? Like, it wasn't that bad. It was just the sense of like the film is very kind of like bouncy and whimsical, and there's a lot of fun dialogue, and a lot of the characters are caricatures of like a stereotype or something. Um and so that animatedness of those characters, that obviously isn't true to life. That obviously isn't how things went down. But the actual mystery they're investigating, the actual murders and deaths, and the subterfuge going on, that is potentially that's the stuff that is limited by real events, right? Like,
Mm.
In the end, those people some of those people must have actually died at some point, and some of those people must actually have been implicated or involved or whatever. um and that's not so bad. I just think that if this was an original film, it would be able to go a lot further with those elements, but it
Right.
actually ends up kind of stopping a bit short.
A bit of a left turn, but Taylor Swift, I never heard of her being an actress. Is she any good? Because sometimes when they interject sort of musicians as actors, they can be hit or miss.
Taylor Swift, I mean, I don't know. I knew she was trouble when she walked in. Okay, that's the only Taylor Swift joke I know to make. Um, she's quite good. She's quite good. Yeah, she sort of she plays like a bit of a sort of uptight. Um, I say uptight, like quite a well kept, put together, sort of 1930s lady that needs to hire a couple of gents to do a job. And her part in the film isn't massive, but like she plays it well. I think she's very serviceable. Like, I could see her doing other small kind of bit roles like that until she has the confidence and experience to maybe hold the camera by herself in a bigger role.
To do a Lady Gaga.
To do a gagaladada.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Margot Robbie, Andrea Risborough, and Anya Taylor Joy are sort of the sort of three female actors who occupy a lot of the screen time.
Right.
Anya Taylor Joy absolutely going ham on the caricature she's playing. Like, she just picks it. She picks a vibe and sticks with it through the whole thing, and it's really good.
Well, everyone knows I love Anya Taylor Joy. I'll watch it just for her. But the rest of the cast looks really, really good. And that's what they were selling it on. But I guess going back to the plot, because obviously the stars are a draw, and you can expect good performances from most of the people on this list. But you know, you said that it's not a murder mystery in the sort of the glass onion sense of like you don't spend your whole time looking for clues and things. But is it an interesting mystery? Is it compelling? Is it something that you feel like had the right sort of amount of twists and turns, kind of thing, or is it more about the characters? You more interested in the sort of moment to moment stuff?
I think. I'm trying to think about this a little bit. I think a large part of it is that the relationships between the characters is interesting. The film paints itself as a story about these three friends,
Hmm.
and these three friends get embroiled in this large plot. Um, and I think it is a lot more than that. There is a lot more kind of intricacy to what's going on there. The main character having like a difficult relationship with his wife, and sort of, I don't know, the lawyer character sort of struggling to find his long lost love, and obviously a black man in the 1930s. They kind of play into that element just a little bit as well, especially when it comes to
I'm just
their
thinking
role
the
in
scale of those three things is like having trouble with his marriage and being black, and
in the
you know.
1930s. Yes, no, they're both very similar things. But no. It is a little bit more of a character drama than I've let on so far. But I think a lot of the joy in the film is actually seeing why those three characters have a relationship with each other, and then how the film evolves those relationships over time.
Cool.
And I think to talk too much about their relationship is actually to reveal some plot elements that happen kind of halfway through the film. So
Okay, all right. Well, we'll move on from there. So you are a 1930s war veteran, and you've come back from the war, and you're you know doing detectiving stuff, and then Ariana Grande comes and asks you to investigate a murder, a suspected murder, and so you so, so you go with her, and you find that someone has killed and strung up from the ceiling her one sentence review of the film Amsterdam. And as you investigate the body, you see written along its side.
trying to look up Ariana Grande to see what songs she. What is
I don't really know any of her music. I just know she was in that TV show. Um,
she was in?
uh,
Don't Look Up.
she was in Don't Look Up. Yes, she
She was,
was.
she was in Zoolander 2, which I haven't seen. That's
She,
fine. I'm going completely way off the point here. I wanted to quote some lyric off her,
I
which
don't know any of her music.
I figure I must know like one song, but it's not going to go anywhere. I On the side of the body, it reads not not a bad use of your time, really.
Imagine that being written on the side of a body at a murder scene. Not a bad use of your time, really.
Not a bad use of your
Killing.
time, really. And it probably has those actors you like.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to move on to my movie of the month, and for this movie, for this movie of this month, I'm talking about 3,000 Years of Longing. This is a movie. When I saw the trailer for it, I was very excited for. I remember seeing it had a really really great trailer, and I was in. And we watched it the other day. It's now out on streaming, so you can find it on like Amazon and all that jazz. And the film follows a woman called Alethea, played by Tilda Swinton, who is a professor of narrative attending a conference in Istanbul to talk about sort of the makeup of stories and how stories become science when they're sort of worked out. And she is gifted on this trip a small glass bottle that, when she cleans it in her hotel room, pops open to release a djinn into her into her hotel room, played by Idris Elba. The djinn offers Alethea three wishes, and, in an effort to overcome her doubts about the ethics of wishing, tells her stories of his life and lost loves. 3,000 Years of Longing is an absolutely beautiful film. Its plot is deeply invested in exploring the nature of storytelling and the ethics of desire, but it reflects that not just in its text, but in its very soul. The Jinn stories are told like old myths narrated by a great storyteller, and Idris Elba's voice is fantastic for that. Time flows at the pace of spoken narrative, jumping days or years or centuries when need be, and giving the feeling of being told an ancient tale. And this is supported by stunning visuals that fill the gaps between narrative moments. This is an intensely visual effect heavy film, but in the best way possible. Everything feels dreamlike and magical, like how you'd imagine these stories in your head as you read them in an old book. It's not subtle, but it is just right. This film feels like a passion piece, and in every part of it, you can feel the desire to bring it closer to a core vision. The performances are good, but they are perfect. They are perfectly right for the film they are in, with the right balances of real and unnatural at every turn. Detail is meticulous everywhere. Backgrounds of scenes are dense with interest and beauty, enhancing shots without ever overpowering them. This is absolutely the film George Miller, the director, wanted to make. I have no doubt of that. If I were to level a criticism at it, it's that it's possibly a bit too long. The flowing, meandering nature of the plot helps to immerse you in the feeling of a long, winding tale or a myth. But there are points where that flow is broken towards the end, and then it struggles to gain that pace again. These are minor complaints, though, and the end is certainly not unsatisfying. It is a very good film, and I think it's one to sit on a comfy sofa at home, in a nice warm room with a hot drink and just immerse yourself in. I think weirdly it is one big blockbuster VFX film that I think actually would be detrimental to watch in the cinema. Weirdly, Jens, have you heard about this film?
I remember seeing the poster. I'm looking at it now. I remember seeing the art for this and maybe a little bit of the trailer. I certainly haven't seen as much as IMDb is showing me now. And thinking, ooh, this feels like it's going to be similar to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
The trailer came out relatively soon after we both watched Everything Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it definitely had that feeling of like, you always like to make comparisons with media. We all do, and especially in our review show, we kind of have to. And so I remember seeing this and thinking, oh, I definitely want to watch this because not only is it Tilda Swinton, who I fucking love, and Idris Elba, who, yeah, he's all right. It just looked like it was going to deliver something similar to a thing that I know I love.
I will say this might be one of Idris Elba's best performances.
I do actually really like Idris Elba.
He's genuinely very, very good in this.
Oh shit! George Miller's the Mad Max man.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Okay, that's
But this is nothing like that.
Well, he's the producer on it. I don't know if he's the director. Okay, great, fantastic, good to know. Yeah. Okay, so you recommend this for one? Let's just get that out of the way.
I do. Yes. I think so to talk about the comparison to Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that in particular when we talk about CGI in films, sometimes it's sort of in the background. It's something that just sort of helps the story flow. 1899 is a good example that it does have a lot of core CGI, but also it was filmed on the volume. That thing that they used to make Mandalorian, where it's all like one big screen and there's like a tiny little set in the middle of a big glowy screen.
I didn't know this at all.
Oh well, it's interesting. Look it up. But it's a new way of filming things. But basically, there's a lot of CGI in that to bring you to the point where you are. I'll try that again. There's a lot of CGI in that to bring you to the point where you feel like you're in a real location, right? To bring you to the point where you don't notice there's any CGI. And then there's things like Everything Everywhere where there's a lot of CGI and it's the core of the film and it's sort of based around it, but it's designed to make this, like, it's designed to work with the plot, right? Everything Everywhere every VFX shot enhances the plot and brings you further through the story. I think 3,000 Years of Longing is very much on that end of the scale. There is a lot of CGI in it, and a lot of the scenes will feel very unnatural and very unreal, but that is entirely the point, and it's not there like a Marvel movie just for spectacle. It is the core of it. It is to paint things in the way that you imagine things to be when you read a book, and I think that it absolutely executes on that.
Okay, yeah, that's a strong sort of thesis statement right there, and I think I had kind of forgotten that this film existed. I think that's the only reason I haven't watched it, is that it's just kind of been pushed to the back of my mind a bit. So yeah, this is very much brought it back to the front of my mind, and I will make some time to give this a go.
I'd
Definitely.
recommend checking it out. We had a similar thing. Like when it came out, we were like, I'd love to watch this. And then the other day we were just like, oh, we should watch a film. And then I saw a thing saying it's now out on streaming, and I was like, great, there we go. That's what we're watching.
That's how you do it. On that topic, by the way, I believe The Menu is now on Disney Plus, and
Yes. Yeah.
go.
We've been attempting to find a day that we could go see it in the cinema for a long time. It just looks like it's probably not going to happen. But
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well, there you go. All right. I think because this is a film I plan to watch, and I think you already said some really great stuff about
I've
it. I think
enticed you.
I'm gonna bring you to the summary,
Okay.
Jamie. You of course, you're going on your little trip to your favorite holiday destination. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You know where that is, and that's between you and God. But at your holiday destination, you find a small bottle. And you notice the bottle could do with a bit of a scrub. It's really ruining the vibe of the place, and you give the bottle a little scrub. And then as you scrubby the bottle, it pops open and out bursts this massive smoke, and and it forms in front of you into the shape of Hollywood international famous actor Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito says to you,
Oh man,
Danny DeVito.
I'm not going to tell you anything about like where the story goes. This would be an incredibly different film if Danny DeVito had played had played the gin.
Hey, yo, Tilda, I'm walking here. I just think that Danny DeVito is a New York scum.
I'm 100 years old.
Get me back in the bottle.
I don't want to go
okay.
back in the bottle.
Danny DeVito says to you, he says to you, hey, I'm not supposed to be out here. So unless you give me a one-line summary review of 3,000 Years of Longing, I'll blast you.
This film is this film is like having a beautiful story told to you by an expert storyteller until Danny DeVito is injected into the plot.
And you say this, but he's already left the room and he's picking up your trash and throwing it out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to move on to our final section. We've got no other movies to talk about. We've been spending too much time playing video games and watching TV shows. So instead, we're just going to jump to our random Netflix movie of the month, which this month was Maria Bamford's Old Baby. It's another stand-up special, everybody, except this one is kind of weird and kind of different in a way that I actually really dig. I actually really liked it. I remember while watching it thinking, Jonas will either quite like this or really hate it. And I'm glad to hear that you did like it. You've gone kind of quiet, weirdly.
Have I?
Yeah.
I haven't been talking. I haven't been talking much. So
no, when you talked a little bit before, you were quiet, and when you said yeah, you were quiet. But you sound okay now. So we were watching Maria Bamford's Old Baby. Basically, the premise is it's a stand-up special. She does a set from beginning to end, but she has recorded it like 10 times in different locations. Anything from to her husband on the sofa with two dogs, to actually in a theater, to in the middle of a couple of lanes in a bowling alley, to 4 people on a park bench, to herself in the mirror. And it just sort of cuts between these different sets that she's done in different places to different groups of people. Um, and she does some of her stand up. It's very weird and abstract. But I quite liked it. Jonas, what did you think about it?
Yeah, I found myself really enjoying it. When I put it on, it was in another moment of, oh God, it's 4 o'clock in the morning and I've just been woken up. I can't go back to sleep. Oh God, I also have to watch that Netflix thing. I better do that now. And I watched it once at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and kind of paid half attention because obviously I'm grumpy and sleepy. And then I was like, I think I was really enjoying that towards the end. So I put it on again, and basically watched it twice in a row.
Is this the
Because I
first
was,
one you've watched twice in a row, or twice at all? Other than, I guess, Howl's Moving Castle.
uh, uh, I mean, yeah, when you put it like that, I guess it might be.
Yeah.
But no, I liked it enough. I realized towards the end that I was really enjoying it, and I wanted to go back and like confirm my likingness of it. So I put it on again because when you wake up that early in the morning, you've got plenty of time to put on a comedy special twice in a row, basically.
Yeah.
So I just did that, and yeah, I found myself really enjoying it. I found her funny. I found the cutting, the editing between different like groups of people, and basically the same jokes, but kind of given a different context or delivery or environment was like quite charming, I think.
Yeah.
Because obviously, what we don't see is we don't see her opening the show in front of 200 people. We see her open the show to herself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And it definitely it's a bit of a cold start, I think. It's a little bit like, oh, okay, this has caught my attention, but maybe for the wrong reasons. But then it keeps going, and you're like, oh, I see what she's doing. Oh, okay, this is quite fun. And yeah, by the end of it, I just found myself really charmed by her.
I think what you're saying about the context changing the sort of feeling of the jokes, I think that's I think that's possibly what's the most interesting about this whole thing, is that like when she performs like 4 people on a bench and she's doing stuff about anxiety, and it's like quite sort of, it is anxious and it is weird. It's still really funny, but it's got a sort of like edgy, weird feeling to it. And then when she's doing almost the same material to 200 people, it has a lot more of a like safe kind of, this is the location for this kind of thing
It
feel.
feels validated because she's in a room with
Right.
200 people.
And it's the same stuff, but the context really does change how you feel watching it.
Yeah.
I think that one of the really interesting things about it, one of the things I really loved about it was, she talked a lot about so she in real life had a breakdown. She had a manic depressive episode, and she I sort of googled it afterwards because I wanted to have an idea of what she was talking about. And she talks about it in the show, and she also talks about the way that other comics reacted to it and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was both an incredibly brave thing to do, to talk about that kind of thing on stage, but also the way that she talks about it, from the point of view of someone who has been through it, but also knowing that she would probably be talking to other people who had been through a similar kind of thing. I think she handled it really well. I think it was, after seeing so much shit stand-up comedy that's sort of like badly targeting minorities and stuff like that, it's such a breath of fresh air to see someone talk about such a dangerous and difficult topic with both such humor and such nuance. I think it was really good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like just the way that she verbalizes, like, yeah, I kind of wanted to still do comedy, but I couldn't think or speak, and I didn't think that would be funny.
Yeah.
Like, the way that she kind of just like really normalizes the experience that she had in her experience. Like
Yeah.
she kind of just speaks about it as a very like matter of fact. And I think, the story of the therapist that walks up to her, the psychiatrist that walks up to her in her, in the resort where she's meant to be getting better,
Yes.
and just says, "I know who you are. I know this other comic. He does these shows. It's a really good venue. You should perform there sometime.
I don't know why
And
I haven't seen you there. She's going, yeah, yeah.
and yeah, and it's those funny little experiences. Her jumping forwards and backwards between like selling merch and
the other,
singing the song of her couples counselor or whatever.
the other thing is she's a really great impressionist. The way
Yeah,
that
she really is.
she changes the tone of her voice, that like her whole demeanor suddenly. She'll be having a conversation with herself and it will just swap. Or the punchline to a joke will be that she'll be building up in her normal voice and then it will just swap to the voice of someone else. And she is a master. She lands those things absolutely perfectly every single time.
I mean, yeah, one of the jokes that I didn't appreciate on the first viewing, but appreciated a lot on the second viewing, was her saying that her and her husband role play their respective mothers,
Yeah,
and then
yes, yeah.
she stands there and role plays both of the mothers, but also incidentally swaps to the husband at a real like subtly at one point.
Yeah,
And so she's essentially playing four characters all at once,
yeah.
two of which are old ladies, and yeah, it's
And
just really well done.
not just that, but I've seen people do jokes about people having conversations and things like that, but she very quickly, very suddenly establishes two very different characters. Like within the first sentence either of them speaks, you know exactly who they are, exactly what they're like, holds a very funny conversation with these two people, and then leaves it. And again, we have seen so much shit stand up. We literally watched a ventriloquist whose job is to talk to made up characters on his hand, right? And she is
Yeah.
significantly better than that.
Have you seen her acting credits, by the way?
Well, so when we were given this, I remember saying she's in Arrested Development, and she's really good in Arrested Development. She plays like a sort of homeless woman who at one point had played um, the female Fantastic Four character. I can't remember her name. The
Uh,
Thingamy's wife. Anyway, she
the
played that.
Invisible One.
The Invisible Woman, that's it. And she'd played that in a Fantastic Four like film that had gotten sued for not having the rights to Fantastic Four. And then one of the characters finds her when she's homeless and convinces her to basically put on an unofficial Fantastic Four play. And just her playing, now knowing that she in real life had a manic depressive breakdown, that is basically the character she plays in Arrested Development.
I see. Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting.
it's good. It's just her voice acting credits are. She's got loads of voice acting credits as well.
Right.
Big Mouth, Animaniacs, Centaur World, Human Resources, Bob's Burgers. Like there's just tons here. BoJack Horseman at one point, I think, as well. It's no wonder that she is so adept at bringing those voices to life and doing those characters and things like that. Yeah, I really like this. And what I'm genuinely sad about, Jamie, is I wish this had come up in 2022 so that I could have a confident best random
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah. This
because
would have been it.
this would have been it. And now, I mean, it's a strong start to 2023. At least it's got that going
It's
for it,
true.
right?
Yeah. 2023 is the year of probably good, hopefully.
On that note, should we push on to the hardest part of the show?
So Laura has presented me the things inside a Lucasade bottle.
I had no fucking clue what that was for a moment, and it was like a weird abstract. It's weird. It's funny that we both got Lucasade bottles. Like,
This is the Lucasade bottle she almost knocked over when she was stealing
I
chocolate from me. Right.
I have these for my disability,
Oh.
my diabetes.
I have. This is a tangent, but the other day I bought a Lucasade, and someone said to me, "Oh, you're not feeling well." I said, "What? It's a Lucasade," and I realised that there's a big chunk of people who in their mind Lucasade is a health thing.
It's a
Like
get well.
you have it when you're feeling ill, the aid part of it. Yeah, and I was like,
Yeah,
no, not to
I
me.
just I just your voice comes out of my phone. Oh, my blood sugar, and then I go get a Lucid.
All right, this is the one we're going to be watching, but we'll get to that.
All
What
right.
we're not watching, we are not watching next month. Dear Affy, a Nigerian romantic comedy. We are
Okay.
not watching Us and Them, a Chinese romantic drama. Laura has written it in phonetic Chinese, but I'm not going to try.
Thanks, Laura.
We're not watching Ali G in the House.
That would have been a silly. That would have been a fun, silly one.
For those of you who don't know, it's a Sacha Baron Cohen comedy. We are not watching Payday, a Nigerian comedy drama. It could have been Nigerian month this month.
Okay.
We are not watching Quien te cantará, which means who will sing for you in Spanish. It's a
Now, just to clarify, Jamie, is the title of the show "Who Will Sing for You in Spanish"?
No, the show is Quien te cantará,
Which is "Who Will Sing for You"
which is who will
in
sing for you
Spanish.
in Spanish. It's a Spanish-French drama. We are not watching
Okay.
The Beast Stalker, a Hong Kong action thriller with 4 out of 5 stars. That would have been good.
We've got a very international lineup here. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
this.
we're back to the old days.
And it's gonna go straight to some fucking
So,
American stand-up comedian.
Koto has won the special prize because on this piece of paper it says in brackets commenter pronunciation correction in 3, 2, 1, and then Koto.
Yeah, Kato, kind of predictable.
That's amazing. And then we have we could have had Reversing Roe, a documentary about abortion law in the US. That'd have been a heavy one.
That would have been uplifting.
I don't know if it's pro or against, so I'm kind of glad we're not watching it. So we are watching Missing Persons Unit, and then in brackets Vermist, which is a crime drama thriller with 2.25 stars out of 5. Let's have a look. Missing Persons Unit, Vermist.
Oh god, there's lots of options on IMDb, but one of them is called Vermist. Wait, no, that's a TV series. Okay.
Vermist.
2006? What year did it come out?
2007. I found it. I've got it. Okay.
1 hour 25?
1 hour 26, but yes.
Oh, my Netflix says. Basically, I'm trying to make sure that we're both looking at the same thing. But yeah,
Koto,
I found.
I do it purely to give you something to comment about. That's why I do it. 5 members of the Missing Persons Task Force investigate the mysterious disappearance of 17-year-old Evie. While unraveling the girl's troubled relationship with her parents, which leaves her father as one of the prime suspects, they discover that her life has recently taken a bizarre turn, with the teenager seen at several sex parties. Oh. So
I saw her at the sex party.
So someone has described it as CSI Belgium.
Okay, I would like that description. I would watch that. Unsurprisingly, it has no actors that I recognize.
Koto, I refuse to learn. This is not about learning. It's not about learning languages. It's about taking names and kicking ass, finding missing persons.
Look, if our audio listeners can't correct you on your pronunciation, then we shouldn't give the privilege to the Twitch streamers either. You know, completely fair
All
to
right.
both audiences.
So we're watching we're watching Missing Person Unit, original title Thermist. And that's what we'll be watching next time. So thank you for joining us, everybody. This was a long one, a very, very long podcast,
A
but we got there
chunky
in the
start to
end.
the year.
If you are watching the visual version of this, thank you very much for joining us. You can find the audio version, which usually is, well, it will be shorter, and it might have extra special bits in the middle. And what were we gonna say?
Say you say it'll be shorter, but you don't know that I'm not going to do a 30-minute one-man show.
I mean,
I might.
I'm okay with that. That sounds
Yeah,
fun. I look forward to listening to that.
just
Um,
don't make promises that I might not keep. Yeah,
um,
I'm a loose cannon, baby.
You can find us on all good podcast sites. Just search the Bunyip Review and you'll find us. And if you're listening to the audio version, thank you very much for listening. You can catch the in-person live recording, not in person. I'm here. I'm in a room. With
We
you
are
can,
people in something.
yeah, I'm in me. Um, you can catch the live version the first Tuesday of every month, unless something changes. And if things change, you can find out by going to @thebunyip_review on Twitter. Is that what our Twitter is? Yeah, @thebunyip_review
Like,
on Twitter to
put me
find
on the
out
spot.
if we're moving or changing them or cancelling them or whatever. And whatever way you listen to us, could you please review us on all your podcast sites and all that kind of stuff? It really helps. It helps people know that this is good. If you think it's good, if you don't think it's good, just don't worry about the review thing. It's fine. Before we go, Jonas, do you have any additional recommends you want to do?
I want to do two things, Jamie.
Yes.
I want you and me to say one big blob at the same time.
Okay. Are you going to count us down?
3, 2, 1. One
One
big blob. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's probably not even going to be the podcast title, but I wanted us to say it.
It's going to be Ultrasound Talent Show.
It's probably going to be Ultrasound Talent Show. Yeah, I did put something in my reviews. I was going through my YouTube history list so that I'd have something prepared. And there was a video that I'd watched the first second of it and then not watch the rest of it so that I would go into my history and watch it later. So then I found it and I watched it, and it's very good. It's just called The Mask in Witcher 3. Literally just go to YouTube, The Mask in Witcher 3. Someone has just green screened Jim Carrey's The Mask into moments of Witcher 3 to entertaining results. That's all I can really say about it. Go watch that. Before that, maybe also go watch and play other things that we talk about on this podcast. But then go watch that.
Okay, cool. And what am I going to recommend? I don't know. I go watch The Traitors and then get them to have a second series, and then we can all talk about it together. And then the second series is on. All right, thank you for watching, everybody, and listening. We'll catch you next month. Bye.
Good night.
Right. That's the end of the podcast. Sorry it ran on so long, but we'll finish up in a second. Before we do the last little bits, I'm just gonna go over again something we mentioned in the middle and at the beginning. Couple of dates for you guys to remember, you podcast fans. We've set a date for the 24-hour podcast now. It's going to be the 1st of July and the 2nd of July because it's going to run over 2 days, or like across the join between 2 days. You know how time works. So we're going to start putting together stuff for that. If there are any streamers that we know in chat or friends of ours, we might reach out to you at some point soon to see if you want to help us to have like a little slot call in and say hello using the guest star system that we've currently got going now. Seems to be working pretty well, I think. And then on the 21st of February, so that's 2 weeks after the next podcast, assuming the next podcast happens when it's supposed to, we will be doing the award show for this year. We'll be picking our favorite games, movies, and TV shows. So tune in for that. That's a buff boy. Look at that Squirtle.
It's to join my library of other
Strange objects.
buff
yeah.
boys. Buff
You
boys.
just have a library of buff boys.
Look at the buff boys. They're
great.
so buff.
Anyway, I like that the Hulk is on just a big block of wood.
Because no other surface is strong enough to handle him.
The Traitors is excellent. It's so good. Watch the Traitors, everybody. But yeah, come join us. Thank you for resubscribing, Joey Grimm. Thank you very much. And thank you for
Bloody
the compliment on our reviewers. Yeah, so 21st of Feb is the award show. Check out the Twitter. We'll be posting all of the things that we've reviewed over the year, and then our nominees as well for what we're doing. And if you have anything you want to sort of like tell us that you'd want to win, please tweet at us about that. We will read them all. We have already picked our nominees, but you can still try and convince us to pick something else. All right, Jonas, are you streaming it all this week?
That's a good question. I streamed a little bit last week. I haven't planned to, but also I'm still sick, so I can't leave the house much. So I might stream if I'm well enough to stream, but not well enough to go outside and not infect people with a cold or something. So
Okay,
there we go. Koto's done a bloody Koto's done the line from the end of Community episode 1. Donde está la biblioteca? Mi habitibon la aranga discoteca maneca la biblioteca something grande perimonteca. I can't remember the whole thing, but there you
go. I am streaming this week. We're back to the normal schedule. And as part of being back to the normal schedule, it means being back to the normal inability to get anyone to commit to a game they want to play. So at the moment, the schedule for this week is that we'll be playing Project Zomboid tomorrow, and then Calico, the Cat Cafe game, on Thursday. But either of those could change depending on if people don't turn up, or if we have to change things, or blah 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 blah. Ghost Tricker's on the list. We've got to get so that requires a bit of tech on my side, and it's also going to be a Tuesday stream because that's usually when we do those extra things. It won't be a Wednesday or a Thursday stream.
what is Ghost Trick?
It is a Game Boy game.
Oh,
It's a game I have to emulate, so I have to sort that out at some point.
alrighty.
But yeah,
you do that.
But yes, DS game.
Phantom Detective. I've been playing. I did mention it in the game section because I might talk more about it. I've been playing one of the Phoenix Wright games. God, they're good.
I saw. Yes.
I love those games so much. They're really good.
That does sound good. I'm interested. I just need to get it and sort that out.
Yeah.
This is the thing: is people often recommend things, and I know you've been recommending this for ages, Koto, and absolutely, it's on the list and it will be sorted. But people often recommend things that require an additional step, like having to set up an emulator or having to, get certain scenes to work so that they make sense on stream and all that jazz. Like when we tried to play on the wheel, we had. I know this isn't someone recommending it, but it's a similar thing. On the wheel, we got that train, what's it called? Railroad Tycoon 3 came up, and it was like, this game doesn't even work, and even if it did, it really doesn't work very well with OBS. So what we got to do is, so then it's like, okay, well, if I want to get this to work, I've got to find a version that someone sorted out. But I want to do these things, and especially because you pay points for Ghost Trick, and it's the last thing on the paying points. It's the last thing in the game queue left. It's the only thing in the game queue that people have queued up using Bunyip bucks that I haven't played. So after that, whoever gets in next gets to pick a game.
I'll tell you what I am doing is I think on Monday I'm streaming Stardew Valley with Ray.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Because Ray redeemed points on my channel to play Stardew Valley, what must have been 2 years ago. And so I feel bad. So now I'm gonna play. I'm gonna do it.
Fair enough.
So yeah,
I offered you a space in a Stardew Valley stream years and years ago.
I think I played one session with you guys.
Nope, I've never played Stardew Valley with you.
Really?
I remember you basically outright saying no. I'm not playing this.
I am well aware that I don't like Stardew Valley that much. Like it's just not my kind of game. But someone paid the points, so
Maybe we can play Bad Rats again.
that was a great game.
Why
aren't we playing Bad Rats every day?
I think
Jamie, I need to use the bathroom, so I think I'm gonna go.
All right, okay, let's go. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Sorry to cut it short.
No, it's not. It's not cutting it short. It's 11:15. So we're gonna go. Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching, everybody. It was really good fun to have you here, and we will we'll catch you tomorrow for some hopefully Project Zomboid or whatever we end up playing. Bye.
Good night.